Hello everyone, this is Remleiz from 40k Theories, and welcome to this newest episode of Adeptus Podcastus. Joining me as always is Tactica Imperialis.
Hello everyone.
And joining us as our guest this week is someone who's been on the show when I haven't been on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Chapter Master Valrak.
Hello everyone, how's everyone doing?
Yeah, not too bad. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I just got back from a little holiday with the family, so nice and refreshed and ready to hobby again. So
dodged all the quarantines.
Yeah, well, kind of. Manchester is like high in certain areas, but not
I
in
just
my
left
area.
Manchester, so
Yeah.
I do.
It's like one of them things. Are we allowed to go out? But we checked it and we were. So yeah, it was all good in my area.
Yeah, fair enough. Valrak's been on the show with me on an episode in Rem's absence, and actually Rem's absence allowed the episode numbers to be swapped, so I got episode 100. Thanks, Rem.
You're welcome.
But yes, so this is a first time trio for people. Yes, we don't just get old people on, we get new people-ish.
And I hope everyone hasn't died because of the bloody heat wave.
Oh.
How is England this hot?
Yeah, I've been doing painting streams and building furniture, and literally I got a filing cabinet and at 8:30 at night and thought, screw it, I'm just going to build it now because I can't build it in the heat in the morning. And apparently the heat has a really weird effect on some paints. So I've heard. So I went through, I think, 4 coats of Blood for the Blood God just to finish one piece of terrain.
Oh God!
Yeah, it's like when it gets like this humid, I just drop paintbrushes because it's just I just can't be bothered to redo things. It's like it starts to crack and stuff like that. Some of my paints, I'm like, I'll just leave it. I just go do other things. But it's been too hot where I live in Manchester. It's just because I'm actually in the attic of my house as well. That's where my little studio is. So the sun's,
where the heat goes.
Yep, it goes up and the sun's on it all day, and it's like a sauna sometimes. It's just not nice.
Yeah, around here we hit around like 90% humidity.
Oh, no.
Not nice.
Nope, not nice at all.
And I noticed that from the photos of Hyde Park, everything has died in Hyde Park except for the trees.
And speaking of dying, shall we talk about the massive changes to the Warhammer 40,000 rules that have probably caused some people to just die of happiness?
Yes.
It's a probably good starting point, right?
Yes. All Space Marines now get 2 wounds, except Terminators who get 3.
Yeah, so what they've done is Primaris-sized all Firstborn, and also buffed half their weapons. So heavy bolters have gone to damage 2, so what's the point in autocannons? Flamers have gone to 12 inches, so what's the point in charging? And melters have now got a complete rework from roll 2d6 keep the highest to a flat +2 damage, as well as giving double shots to the multi-melter. So what's the point in tanks? And then they also gave power swords plus... Sorry, I'm just going to run through all these.
I agree with everything you're saying. It's
and then we said power swords get +1 strength, so what's the point in toughness 3? Chain swords for a starters get AP -1, so what's the point in t-shirts? And plasma weaponry now only overheats on an unmodified one, so what's the point in, hit modifiers? Oh wait, they already got rid of half of them. And then they also said, oh, you know how we buffed all the Space Marines? Yeah, we're going to give that to all of the Imperium and Chaos Space Marines. They're going to get 2 wounds too. Yay! Also, Death Marks are getting double -2 rend and +1 strength on their sniper rifles. And more range and mortal wounds. And Triarch Praetorians are getting, what do they got? Double damage on their Rods of Covenant. And they've also, it's just, whoa.
In fairness, at least they're buffing some Xenos weaponry as opposed to just giving it all to the Imperium.
I think what they're doing, it's great that they give everyone an extra wound, but in a way, it doesn't really mean anything because everything does more damage now. So it's like, yeah, you do get that extra wound, but everything will kill you a lot faster as well.
I mean, as a Tau player, one thing that concerns me is about, I think, mainly it's going to be about the release schedule. I have no problem with upping the power and the kill and decreasing the time to kill in the game because I play Age of Sigmar and nothing in that game, unless it's ultra heavy cav, has better than a 4+ save. Damage 2 is common in most infantry units that aren't basic infantry, and mortal wound magic is all over the shop. And also lots of decent shooting. Monsters are tanky as all sin, but they still take chunks of wounds at a time. a low time to kill, to borrow from the FPS, and a high damage output per unit can be immensely gratifying, and I'm here for that. But the Space Marine Codex comes out in October, and so does the Necron Codex. We know that from the reveal stream on the Indomitus launch day.
Yep.
But when does everything else drop? Are they going to patch the game on Space Marine release day and thus basically invalidate every codex and go back to the Index era for a few months to buff everything? Or are the 8th Ed armies going to have to wait for their 9th Ed codices to get all the buffs for the time in between, at which point they will sit in garbage tier because they will not be able to compete with double wounds on most Space Marine and Chaos Space Marine armies?
I think most of the changes are going to come from the boxes, like the new reboxing. I think that's where you'll get most of the new rules now to try and bring them on par. When it comes to the codexes themselves, or codexes, however you want to say it, like you said, Space Marines and Necrons, after that, I have no idea now, because I know their schedule has been hit, of course, with, the Nurgle situation in the world and everything like that. So, are they going to get more out before Christmas? Around Christmas time, the main thing that GW likes to do is push those box sets and stuff, because that is like a big money thing for them. So are they going to overlap that with a codex at the launch at Christmas and stuff? It's going to be interesting to see where they go.
Because we know that in September is the main Lumineth Realm Lords release, along with other bits. October is Marines and Necrons. November, I'm assuming, is going to be given over to the Sons of Behemat for a week or two, the new Mega Gargants for Sigmar. And then we pivot into the Christmas rush. Now, the army I expect to get its codex first is Mechanicus, because of all the new units they got in Psychic Awakening 7.
Yeah, that's a pretty good choice, yeah.
Unless they want to do what they did with the last Space Marine Codex and do supplements, since they've rolled all the first founding chapters back in, and now they want to fan them back out again, we might get a wave of supplements snuck in somewhere. But I do suspect that obviously it doesn't matter right now, because some areas of the world are not running tournaments, like the UK and the US.
Yeah.
But the tournament meta doesn't care, because it's not a thing right now about the game balance. But I do have a worrying feeling that if we're still at, say, August 2021, and some armies haven't got a 9th edition codex, that's going to leave those armies very much in the ditch.
Yeah, definitely.
Unless they're patched in the meantime. And I like what you're saying about boxes. So individual units get buffed by a box. But say Fire Warriors get damage 2. I don't think they will, but let's say they do, just for the sake of argument. And I don't need any more Fire Warriors. Am I going to have to go and buy another box of Fire Warriors that I don't need to get the updated datasheet to use them? Or are they just going to be on the app? So I'm going to have to do a paid service to keep up with the rules because they can't give me a codex fast enough?
I think you've hit the nail on the head. I think it kind of forces you to use their app in a way. But saying that, there is other third-party applicants out there, like Battlescribe, if you've ever played with Battlescribe before and stuff like that. I know. I'm
Battlescribe. I'm actually a bit of a purist and a paper list builder. I prefer to write my lists on paper because I find it faster. But if I'm going to a game, I do use Battlescribe, and I think I still will, even when the app is updated, because I don't know what the free app is going to give me. I know they've updated the power levels and all that, but I don't know what the free app gives me relative to, for example, the free version of Battlescribe. And I know that sounds a bit stingy coming from me, the YouTuber who doesn't care, but what is it, £6 a month, give or take? I think it's 70 quid.
I think it's free. Again, I don't know. I haven't even invested into the app because I'm not going to put money into an app that's not even fully 100% complete. Like, they don't even have the list builder in there yet. When they do have it, then I'll test it out and see what it's like. But at the moment, everything that I'm going to be using the app for, I get that already with Battlescribe. So it's.
And I know that the Azir app, which is the AOS list builder, that's really good. I think that's $1.99 a month, and I've heard very good things about Azir because you don't get the Codex, Battle Tomes rules until you get an in-app purchase or whatever. But all the list building functionality is really good in Azir. So I'm told. I haven't used it myself because, again, Battletome Codex from List Writing Purist.
Right, I get you.
So I think the app will work just fine, but I shouldn't have to pay £50 a year to know what my army's rules are because they can't be bothered either to push a free FAQ and keep that up to date and change the datasheets on a free FAQ, which I think would be the best move, or hide them behind what is essentially a £30 to £50 box paywall per unit.
Yeah. I can't see them doing that because I think it'd be too much of a kick up in the community. I think what's going to be happening now is that they'll go into like full on production where they'll just smash the codexes out month by month. Like remember in 8th edition, like every other month or every month, it was at some point, it was just like a new 40k codex. It was like Tau, then Admech, then Eldar. It's just like month after month, we knew everything was coming as soon as 8th edition drops. I think they'll do the same with this now. And then it'll be like the latter couple of years into 9th, because I foresee that they're going to stick to a schedule now of like every 4-ish years, that's when a new edition will come. So we'll get all the codexes in like the next 12 months. Then after that, it'll be stuff like maybe like another Vigilus campaign called something else. And then something else like the Psychic Awakening or something to end it out, and then move on to the next kind of stuff. I think that's what's going to be happening.
That's certainly within the realms of possibility, but just to put into context how fast 8th edition was or wasn't, it took 9 months from the launch of 8th edition in July 2017 to the Tau Codex coming out in March 2018. Even with that release schedule that they had in 8th, it was 9 months until Tau, Harlequins, and Deathwatch got their Codex update. It was 6 months for the Thousand Sons and Custodes, and just remember the odd ones that got released. Even at that speed, it took them 9 months to update the game.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting. It'll be an interesting one to look through. It's going to be...
And in that time, I think the other caveat is Sigmar didn't get anything.
Did it not? I don't follow Sigmar that much, so I don't really pay attention to
So the only thing that happened for Sigmar particularly, so I went away when Beastclaw Raiders came out, and then there was Malign Portents in December. There was basically nothing until Christmas. Then it was Malign Portents in December, and then they were gearing up for AOS 2. So they went Nagash in December, Nurgle in January, Daughters and Deepkin in March, and then AOS 2 was in July with the new Stormcast and Nighthorn. So AOS got a chunk of stuff because it was building to a new edition. Until that point, Sigmar and all the other stuff that GW specializes in, not like specialist games and stuff, went on the back burner as they scrambled to get 40k back into shape.
Okay. Right. Okay. Yeah.
Or at least that's how I think I remember it. Anyway.
I didn't pay attention to any AOS stuff. For me, it was just, I just focusing on the 40k stuff, so that's where my mind was. I knew that they got all the codexes out. I think they did under 12 months in 8th edition. So I think that's what they'll try to do. But again, with the schedule and everything that's going on, it's going to be interesting. Maybe they'll like push it on their app more than anything else. Like the rules have changed.
I think they could get away with, I think when Marines come out in October, the same buff will go to the rest of the Imperium and to Chaos Space Marines. That buff, I think, will pass out quite quickly. So I think what they'll probably do in the short term is publish a big FAQ document like the back of the rulebook. So in the back of the rulebook they gave all those weapons blast. I think they'll do that as a massive mega FAQ for you to keep up with the game. Though it must be a bit like, oh yeah, so right, we've got a new edition. Now you can throw all your old books away. We're going to condense it, and now you need to print 17 more FAQs.
Oh boy.
Already.
Yeah, that I don't like carrying a lot of stuff with me, so if we can condense it down digitally and I can go through, that's something that I like. So that's why I think it's going to be more app-based with them. But then that brings into the thing, if they just update it on their app only, does that mean Battlescribe can't go in and take it because you're taking stuff off a paid service and putting it technically on a free service? So it might be a tricky situation for them as well, what the road we go down.
Yeah, it's a weird one. At the moment, we don't have all the data and we're throwing out speculations. And I don't mean to sound too pro or anti the position. Like, as I say, I am pro the change. I'm just curious about the execution because particularly as a Tau player who doesn't use a power sword, doesn't use a chainsword, doesn't use a multi-melter, and flamers were already one of the most powerful weapons we had because flamer suits were silly. Most of this stuff doesn't affect me, and I don't have any damage too unless it's called a Riptide Burst Cannon, and that thing was already broken. So I don't know how they're going to execute it, that's all. And I've got a problem with it. Just get it done quick, because it's going to leave a lot of armies in the lurch until you do. I think is sort of where I am with it.
I think it's the other things to look at now as well is like, when you look at like the other arm is how this is going to affect, like you said, Space Marines going 2 wounds, and, that counts for, Rubric Marines, they mentioned in their article, Plague Marines. Khorne Berserkers is something that scares me as 2 wounds each. That is something that I'm going to fear on the tabletop. But what about, like, other armies, like Custodes? Does that mean, like, they'll get an extra wound now? Because these are, like, the Emperor's elite. How it's going to be funny to see how the fallout affects all these armies now. Like, what unit in an Orc army should get another wound? Does that mean boys are going to get another wound? Does that mean, like the Mega Knobs should get another wound? Or is it going to be they get extra toughness or better ballistic skill? It's going to be interesting, I think, now, how the balance is going to affect all this. Because if they just do it for Marines, I personally think that will cause an uproar in the community. Because at the moment, where we're at already, I think we can all agree that the Primarchs Marines have been getting a lot of attention.
And a lot of powerful attention.
Yeah, that's one of the things.
Like, I saw a thread where people were saying that Blade Guard veterans could 1v1 Custodes.
Yeah, they're good.
I think they ran the maths, and certainly a unit of 3 could beat 2 Custodes.
Yeah, they're again, and like the melters on the quad bikes and stuff. I did a video about that, like how you can technically bring 9 of them. Because the stats sheet that they give out was like a little squad of them. So a squad is up to 3, and you can bring 3 of them into a game. So you can have 9 of them, and the way that you can get up the board, because they have the biker keyword as well. So if you're like running them in a White Scars army, you can like move, shoot, advance, and still charge and everything if you play it right. So they could be absolutely devastating if in the right chapter's hands. They could just kill anything they come across.
It's going to be an interesting time, definitely. I think it'd be foolish of us to over-speculate, particularly about meta implications, because A, we haven't seen 50% in the Marine Codex, B, we don't know if the Indomitus rule changes are going to be in agreement with the Marine Codex change, because can you imagine 1+ saves on Terminators? No, please stop, no, and no. Unmodifiable 1+ save, no, and no.
I love how people are trying to justify that. I was like, no, stop this. No, I know it sounds fun, but no.
Yeah, so I think this is all interesting stuff to read. I think the most interesting thing, from a lore perspective is, what is the justification? So Primarchs come in, and they're the creations of Belisarius Cawl. They're super tough, they've got better weapons, better armor, yada, 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 and they have the extra wound to prove that they are superior genetically to the Firstborn Marines. Okay, fine. Now all the Firstborn have 2 wounds too.
Do you know what would be absolutely hilarious?
Justify that one, Cawl.
If they actually gave Primaris 3 wounds, and then Space Marines are like 2 again. I'd literally laugh at that, because I'm sure that Primaris, like you said, like in the lore, they're bigger and better. I'm sure they like had a gland that was put in them, and one of the reasons why they got the extra wound was because of that gland. I read that online somewhere. I'm sure that
there
was.
There were 3 new implants into the Primaris, and Rem can jump in and correct me if I get this wrong. There was the sinew coils, which was making them tougher, which is probably where the extra wound comes from. There's the Magnificat, which was part of the Godmaker gene and thus made them a bit, I don't quite get it. I think that was like part in like a muscle booster. And then they got
Magnificat was what basically made them bigger to basically fit all the other stuff in.
Right. And then there was the Belisarian Furnace, which allows them to basically avoid mind wipes and resurrect from the dead.
Gotcha.
It was a defibrillator, yeah.
Great.
But that's how the Rubicon works. The Belisarian Furnace kicks in and you resurrect. That's how the Rubicon works, at least with Calgar.
Yeah, that's an interesting one, isn't it, really?
I still find it funny that the Rubicon thing is like, oh yeah, it's only got a 40% success rate.
Everyone's I was actually talking about this the other day. I don't know if you chaps have seen like the new Lost Legion YouTube channel. He's making like an Exodite. Well, it's called Exodite. It's going to have Tau in it, Eldar.
I've heard of Exodite, but I couldn't.
He was asking me about stuff about the Primaris Marines because it's not his strongest point. He's more of an Eldar person, and he was asking me about the Rubicon. He's like, has anyone actually died? And I'm like, character wise, I haven't read about. Like everyone's taking it now. There was that Lazarus guy, I think, with 5th Company Dark Angels, who was about to die, and they couldn't even put him in a dreadnought or something. So instead, they made him into a Primaris Marine.
Yeah. There was Ragnar Blackmane, who was ripped apart by Ghazghkull Thraka, and the Rubicon saved him. And he still shouldn't have beheaded Ghazghkull. Why did you let him do that? That is the one thing about Psychic Awakening that actually annoyed me. Like, I don't like what they did in terms of there's not enough new stuff here, but they actually decided to let Ragnar kill Ghazghkull. No, bun that. Ragnar should not kill Ghazghkull under any circumstances.
Yeah, there was some, like, I actually like some of the theories, like, people were telling me, like, Ghazghkull allowed himself to be beheaded so he could create, like, more spores directly from Ghazghkull, so he could make, like, more bigger orcs. And, like, okay, if that was the case, that would have been fun, but that wasn't the story. It was like, no, Ragnar actually defeated the so-called beast of the orcs kind of thing.
He didn't defeat him. I think the way I remember reading it is Ghazghkull ripped him apart, essentially, and just crushed the life out of him, and Ragnar got a lucky chainsword to the jaw. Like, I'm sorry, Ghazghkull has a fucking adamantium skull and a mega armored jaw, and you're telling me that a frostblade can just chop it off? I'm sorry, what now?
Yeah, it was a good old time. Let's just say it was a draw.
Like, I'm glad we got the upgraded Ghazghkull, but he didn't have to die for it.
He's basically a Primaris Marine
anyway.
now. That's what he is. That's what Ghazghkull is now. He's an orc version.
Primarchs confirmed.
Primarchs confirmed, indeed.
There we go. But yes, that was the biggest change and biggest news of the back end of things, though it wasn't the first big thing to appear out of nowhere and just fall from the heavens, if you catch where I'm going with this. We also had last week, at the time of recording, the Warhammer supply drop that sold out in 5 minutes flat.
So this came out of nowhere, and I actually did a little rant on this on my when I stream and stuff. I don't like these kind of things at all. It's just it's like I was arguing with some guy saying it's basically gambling. That's what it is, and I don't like I hate any kind of loot boxes in any kind of video games I play. Like I like the thought of saving money on GW products, but I hate the thought that I'm probably going to get something that I'm never going to use. Like, if they did it like this supply drop is Imperial Fist themed, if this one's like Ultramarine themed, this one, I don't know, even it goes far as like Space Marine themed, let's say, then...
Yeah, but this one was, to put it politely, eclectic.
Yeah. So when I was actually streaming when I heard about it as well, and I recorded a video with my stream chat about it, and we sort of came to the conclusion that as a way to sort of like maybe if you and your friend want to start an army, get a supply drop and then split it sort of down the middle with what you get, and then start from there. So the way GW promoted it was, it's a way, start your army, but leave what you get up to fate. Okay, that's an interesting idea. So you get given, as you say, a Space Marines box, for example, which contains a named character for a particular chapter, maybe, and then some generic units, maybe one specialized unit. So maybe Mephiston, Death Company, and then Intercessors and Assault Marines.
That'd be perfect.
And so you get a sort of a slightly randomized but still on theme box. But one of my friends actually unboxed it and put it up for us to see. And the box for the UK, and your mileage may vary, but I believe everyone got the same, was Fenrisian Wolves, Space Marine Bikes, Arcoflagellants, Adrax Agatone, Mephiston, Corsaro Khan, Master Lazarus.
It was just...
What are you supposed to do with that?
It was so, like... I actually saw it because an Italian guy got it, and he posted it on a 40k phone website, and I was like, this can't be true. It's like, it makes... Like, you can't even do anything with it. Do you know what threw me off? Like, I thought, okay, if it was all Space Marine stuff, then maybe you can kit bash and everything like that. But there's just like the random box of sisters in there. I was like, what? Why? Like, they like, as you just mentioned, they should have done like maybe one HQ, a troop choice, maybe an elite choice, and something else, no matter what army it was. And then that gives you, like, the get up and go, I can add more to this army. I can do more with that. But the randomness of it, it was just, I don't know. I just don't understand it.
I'm not opposed. Like, I didn't quite, at first I thought this is just loot boxing, and I wasn't keen on it. But the way they had it pointed out to me was, you roughly know what you're getting. You know what you're paying, and you know what value you're getting, and you know roughly, well, the theory went at the time, you knew roughly what you were going to get. That was the theory. However, the way I see it now is this was a way to ship off loose stock.
Yeah, definitely.
And
definitely.
I think what I think the mistake is now that we know what was in this one, no one is going to buy the next one.
Yes.
Because let's say this supply drop had been what we sort of said it was. Maybe there was an Imperial one, but it was either a Space Marines themed, a Guard themed, Mechanicus themed, Sisters themed, and different places got different ones. Different people got different boxes around those themes. That, let's say when the Sigmar one comes out and there's an order box, okay, I might get some elves, I might get some dwarves, I might get some humans. That's fine. If I now think about what the AOS order box will contain, it will probably contain some flipping Dryads, a Caradron Ether Engineer, Gotrek Gurneson, Volturnos King of the Depths, and Gavriel Blummin Shawheart. None of which can be taken in the same faction.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not helpful.
I'd really like to know like what were their like thoughts behind like if we just put all, like what you said. I think they just looked at it and said, right, we've got all this stock left over. Let's just give it out and just £75 and you can save half price kind of thing. So yeah, I wasn't a fan of it from the start, to be fair. Like I was glad I was asleep at the time when it actually released. So I actually missed out because I actually would have bought it if I saw it would have gone up. But like you said, it went out in like 5 minutes. And just seeing it now, it just confirms to me that what I had my feelings about. Like it was just. I personally think it was a waste of money, and I just don't like the randomness in there and saying to people, you could get this, you could get that. It's £75, £150 worth of product. I just don't like that because it's just loot boxing, and I think it's just a form of gambling, and I don't like to see that in the hobby at all from GW, a company that I follow and I like.
I mean, it's one thing when you get when you go into a Games Workshop and you had the cheap and cheerful Space Marine hero blind boxes. That's one thing. Because you're only spending a couple of quid for a random Space Marine character model type thing. That's one thing. But considering that this was one of these things that it seemed like a decent idea in theory, but when it was put into practice, it was just an utter failure.
Yeah, but I actually really I know the Space Marine Heroes is kind of similar, but you know what you're buying. When you buy the Space Marine Heroes, you know you got to get a Terminator, no matter what. Like with these box sets, you don't know what you got to get. Like so that's why I'm saying. Like if they would have said, "This is an Imperial box, but a Space Marine flavored one. This is a sister theme one. This is an Imperial Guard theme one, a Custody theme one." I think that would have gone down a lot better, and then people would have
and I think
invested a bit more.
Yeah, I think that's the lesson to be learned from this: is the idea of a supply drop. Whilst it may feel a bit close to loot box in its current iteration, and I agree that's not a good thing, and I am concerned regarding where this could go, given its success in terms of pure sales, forget fan reaction, in pure sales, it was a massive hit.
Oh, it was a huge hit.
My concern is it could get worse, and it could get more loot boxy, absolutely. But hopefully...
But aren't there laws in regards to loot boxing and stuff like that, though, in some countries?
That's a fair point. You have got very strict laws.
I think that's why it wasn't available in America or Canada, if I'm not mistaken, because some of the states over there don't allow that practice. So they just decided to miss it out, if I'm not mistaken.
They did miss it out, though I don't remember exactly what their reasoning was. They did say that have not got it this time, rather than we'll never get one going forward. But yeah, very valid point. I hope that what they do, if they do this again, I think they've got to be a bit more specific about what you're going to get. So, for example, the supply drop will contain one hero, one troop/battle line unit, one monster and one monster/vehicle and one other unit. And the theme is X, where X is more specific than a Grand Alliance / equivalent Imperium Chaos Xenos. If they specify it a bit, and reduce that randomness so it feels like, okay, it's a Space Marines theme box. Even if I get a Blood Angels themed, a bit with a bunch of Blood Angels, so it's Mephiston and Death Company, when I'd have slightly preferred Ravenwing Bikers and Samael, they won't do Samael, but you know what I mean. That's not so bad.
Yeah.
And I think that's what they've got to do going forward. If they want to do this again.
As you say, if I would have bought a box that you described and it would have been like a Raven Guard theme one, and it was, just Phobos armor and stuff like that, and Raven Guard upgrade kits, I just would have gone and kit bashed it, and just turned it into an army that I would want. It was just like the stuff in there doesn't just work with each other. None of it can go in the same force. So that is why I was like, this is awful. It's like you can't even build an army out of it. Well, you can, but separate armies and use them. Yeah, different.
It's as Rem said. I think Rem has it about right. Nice idea, but woeful execution. I think is sort of how to sum it up.
Definitely.
Right. What else managed to sneak through? Because obviously the big rules changes kind of taken over the entire dialogue, which is understandable. We also know they changed a bunch of power ratings, but I think most people don't use power ratings.
I haven't. No, it's not for me.
They updated the Warhammer 40,000 website with an interactive map that does nothing.
Yeah, I did a little video on that. Like, I like the foundation of it, like what they're doing, but I would like to see more interactiveness. Like, when you click on the Custodes, it's just a planet. It's just like the planet doesn't even move. I would have thought, GW multi-million-pound company, they would have a little bit of animation and a little bit more information there and stuff like that on it. So hopefully they'll upgrade that in the future and add some more stuff to it.
Yeah, hopefully. We got the last article for the Horus Heresy Book 9, The Road to Thramas. We got some rules for a couple of Dark Angels characters early. And that book will be out, when it's out.
Later this year.
Yeah, it will be out this year, and hopefully the new Lion model will be along with it. There's a new season of Blood Bowl with a new human and orc team, as well as a Halloween-themed team, because reasons.
Oh, can we just point out how the new model for Varric Ghoul Chewer has a ghoul on his arm? On his shoulder, rather. I thought that's a nice little touch.
Is that the Necromantic Horror team, that one?
No, Varric Ghoul Chewer is the Orc Star player.
Oh, sorry, Ghoul Chewer, I went straight to... Sorry, apologies.
Yeah, Ghoul Chewer now has a ghoul stuck on his shoulder. So he can chew it, I assume.
Yeah, they're great models. I really like the model. I've never played Blood Bowl before in my life. I love watching sports, but I hate playing sports games, if that makes sense. I'm just so bad at them. So I've always avoided Blood Bowl, but I love the models they do. I think they're fantastic sculpts.
Oh yeah, the orc ones, they can, prime conversion material for using in an orc army.
I think everything's prime conversion when you talk about orc. It's like, okay, I can make this into whatever I want. I actually love the Empire guy on the Empire. Is it Nobles, I think they were called, or something like that? The Empire Nobles. Like the main guy on their one was really...
Griff Overwald, I think his name was.
Yeah, Overwald's the star player.
I thought that was a really badass model.
I mean,
just into an Imperial Saint or something.
I mean, swap out the football and you've basically got a Karl Franz conversion.
Kind of, that's what I was thinking of, like something like knightly like that. I was like, can I Britannia this in some kind of way? Yeah.
I think Britannia would be difficult because Britannia doesn't...
Here's an idea. Macarius conversion.
There we go.
Oh,
there we
yes.
go. You hit the nail on the head.
Sol Macarius, what a shout.
Yeah.
Swap the eagle's head for like a cyber eagle's head from Kotiaz and the medals for purity seals, and then obviously replace the ball with a sword, and you're 95% there.
You've done it. That's a really good shout, that, right? That's awesome. I love Macarius as well. He's an awesome character.
We all love Macarius.
Yeah, well, if you like your Macedonians, then yes, absolutely.
Speaking of characters that aren't very well liked, the new Magnus the Red novella.
Oi!
Oh yes.
Oi!
The release date was supposed to be next week, but that's actually been pushed back until September.
Oh, is it?
Now.
Oh, interesting.
It has, yes. The Black Library Facebook page put up a statement saying, due to the vagaries of warp travel and lockdown, it's been delayed by about a month.
I haven't really been following the novellas in the Siege of Terra. I've been following that. I've been getting the limited edition of the actual big books, but not the novellas. I know someone told me some interesting stuff in the last one about a certain Raven Guard character. Yeah, I don't want to spoil it and stuff, but it was very interesting for someone to tell me about that. So maybe I'll get into this Magnus one because I actually like the storyline that Magnus and Janus, for those of you who've been following it and stuff. So maybe this will come to the conclusion of that.
It's apparently it will because he's looking for the last piece of his soul. So,
which, as we know, is Janus. But Janus is supposed to go on and found the Grey Knight. So how are they going to square that circle?
Not to mention the fact that at this point, Janus is now on Titan.
Also that. Good point. Malcador took
I
me to
found
Titan.
you, opens the door, there's a note there, not here, BRB. See you next time. Okay. Right.
Yeah, Titan's in the
So
webway
cuts a
now.
cardboard cutout.
Is Titan in the webway or is it in the warp? Where does he hide it?
I think
He hides it in the
they
wall.
did just some magic with it or something, like, before.
Yeah, I knew they hid it. I couldn't remember what dimension they hid it in.
Because
Science
science.
and magic. The best kind.
Indeed. And speaking of magic, well, not magic, but blood magic, we have got, finally, the confirmation of the release of Morgwaith's Blood Coven and Morgoth's Crushes for Underworlds, which doesn't really matter unless you play Underworld, which is absolutely fair enough. And to be honest, it's one of those games that I've always felt I should play, but it seems too competitive for me to stand a chance. But
They're still good models, though.
Oh, the models are gorgeous. I'm actually going to buy Morgwaith's Blood Coven because during my streams I've been working on a Altar of Cain conversion, and Morgwaith is prime High Priestess of Cain. Well, not High Priestess, that's Marathi, but sort of prime Priestess of Cain, because she is a priest. A prime Priestess conversion, or just to stand in front of the altar, which has got my Green Goblin metallic red Avatar of Cain on it. Yes, my Avatar of Cain looks like the Green Goblin in metallic red armor. Come at me. And it really just looked like a gorgeous kit to use, and they actually look kind of decent in the mid game as well. But that's beside the point.
Nice. I was actually hearing a few whispers. Someone told me not to buy an Avatar of Cain. I was like, well, I don't play it anyway, because apparently.
Oh, the 40k Avatar of Cain. Well, that's everyone's punching bag. The AOS Avatar
Is
of
it
Cain
something
is
completely
locked
different?
behind.
Okay. Yeah.
So AOS's Avatar of Cain is a statue that comes to life, spills blood, and has a damage 3 sword.
Right.
But you can only buy it in the Cauldron of Blood kit. But it can wander around its own in the new edition. So you can just have a living statue wandering around the board, shooting blood and chopping people's things apart with a massive sword that's like the size of 2 elves. So it's kind of fun.
I will say that the 40k Avatar Arcane needs a desperate upgrade because that's the second edition sculpt
Yeah.
still.
Yeah, I think after Mechanicus, I think Craft Worlds need their Codex most desperately, just to update the plastics.
I would love to see what the Necron's got in terms of new models and like a little rework what they got in for the Eldar. Like, as an Imperial player, you know, deaf to the Xenos always, but in terms of like models and rules-wise and stuff, well, we say argue rules-wise, they've been one of the top armies with the flyer spams and stuff, but some of their characters...
Yeah, Eldar have been top of the meta since 6th.
It's just some of their characters, like when you look at them, it's like, okay, they're old. Like back in the day, they were great. They were the bee's knees. But when you compare them to some of the new stuff now, they just don't make the cut. So hopefully, fingers crossed that they get that love.
Yeah.
But it's not even like some old models that aged well. So like Dante's model, he's a bit small and that, but Dante's design holds up. The design of, well, the worst defender I think was Jane Czar, but the design of the Phoenix Lords doesn't hold up the same. The only like Phoenix Lords I keep the same are Malgan Ra and Baharoth and debatably Fuegan. Debatably, but the rest of them can go. In my personal opinion.
Yeah, you got the models like Azrael for the Dark Angels, like when you put him next to submarines.
Ragnar in his high heels.
Yeah, when you put these guys next to some of the like the 40k, well, the Space Marine stuff, they do stick out like a sore thumb. So hopefully they get. I definitely think like, because I don't know, we mentioned before like the Space Marine Codex coming out in October, and the Dark Angels, Blood Angels, Space Wolves, they'll be getting supplements now instead of like full codexes and stuff like that. So I think when they get their supplements, I do think like Azrael will get a new model. I think Dante will get a new model. I'm debatable if he's got to go to a Primaris Marine. I know a lot of people are saying he should. And I have no idea for the Space Wolves because we've just got Ragnar and I can't think of really anyone. Maybe...
Lehman. Why the hell did I say Lehman? Logan got his Santa sled. Bjorn got his big upgrade when Murderfang came out. So there's really just Niall Stormcaller.
Yeah, Stormcaller. Yeah, that's probably a good shout.
Who's from 5th Ed, and then Aryak and Lucas, but like no one cares.
I hate
probably
Lucas
Niall
the Trickster.
just to get rid of that basic first edition Space Wolf Rune Priest.
Yeah, Lucas the Trickster. I just wish they'd just kill him. I just can't be dealing with that. Like, I tried to read like the book about him and stuff, and he's just joking. I was like, oh no, I can't deal with this. No, thank you. Stop this.
Well, we had Josh Reynolds on the show, and he told us he wrote that book on a bet.
Oh, did I? Okay, right.
It was still good from what I hear, but apparently he just sort of wrote it on a bet.
I just don't like his character at all. It's not very Space Wolfy to me. Like, yeah, when I compare him to like Beyond, some of the stuff.
Well, there's a reason he's called the Jackal Wolf. So.
So in terms of some other stuff, we got a look at the Necromunda Gang Stronghold terrain piece, which is probably going to be nicked by 50% of Gene Stealer Cult's players and everyone who makes a Hive City board.
Yeah, I love that. Orcs as well. As soon as I saw it, I thought that would make a really good, kit bash for orcs and stuff. It has that. But I think everything in Necromunda would make a great orc kit if you've got the passion to do it. And when I saw that, I thought, oh yeah, that's fantastic as well. So yeah, I really do like that.
Yeah, and one of the rules change that I actually forgot, they patched Lookout Sir, so dreadnoughts can do it, vehicles in general can do it. They sort of changed it round a bit. I don't know the implications of it because I haven't actually played a game of Ninth yet, but they did change it.
I now have this mental image of Bjorn shouting Lookout Sir and diving in front of Logan Grimdark.
Sailing through the air.
The main thing to imagine is more like imagine a venerable dreadnought being Lookout Sir and diving in front of Bjorn. That's now
my first game of 9th edition. I actually got caught out by it because I put my guys, like I set it up, I put my Chapter Master next to my tank and my tank got destroyed. So I moved him up thinking, okay, he's still behind my actual guys, but he was outside the range. And I was like, oh my God, it slips your mind what you can do. So, he actually survived. He had his invulnerable save. He managed to survive. But since then, I just basically stuck him in just like zergs of Space Marines. Like, nope, you are staying safe in the middle of everyone. So no one can ever touch you again.
To be fair, I think the 8th ed system, early 8th system was arguably worse, where you couldn't shoot a character unless they were the closest model, which basically said, oh, I have a Necron Lord. Oh, I have a Cryptek. They're going to stand one in front of the other. You can't shoot one of them.
I used to hate that. I used to you have to shoot him, but I can't see him because no, you can't do it. No, it made no sense at all.
And then they patched it. Then they patched it to get rid of character blocking, but you still had to shoot like closest visible and all that stuff. And it was just like, right, so your commissar is stood 20 feet away from any other guardsman. I've got a clean shot at him with this rail rifle. No, you've got the guardsman squad like 2 feet away. You've got to shoot them first. Why?
Yeah. I'm really am glad they changed that rule because there was a lot of I won't say abuse, but there was a lot of stupid things that were happening on the tabletop. So yeah, I welcome that.
Yeah, I think one thing that I think they tried to do with 9th was try to make it feel more real. And I know that's weird to say about sci-fi fantasy war game, Chainsword Cobras, Smash Mate, and all that stuff. I know that's a weird concept of making it feel real, but it made it more intuitive. Like, of course a vehicle can shoot when it's got some Nurglings clawing at its tanks treads ineffectually. Of course it can.
Yeah.
Oh, of course that flyer's base is not, your flyer is not going to block something 20,000 feet below and all that stuff. And of course I can shoot someone who's behind you. Doesn't mean it's going to be easy, but I can.
Yeah, there's a lot of great changes. Really good. I think even though there's some things that are still a bit iffy in a way, I do think it is a better edition than it. Well, it is 8th edition just with extra steps in it, like an improved 8th edition. Like it
kind of feels like they gave 7th back to 8th. Yeah,
because I was expecting like when a new edition did come, like from 7th to 8th, where it was like a brand new thing. So I was like, oh, hopefully 9th edition won't be too much of a change. And it wasn't. It is basically 8th edition with a few extra steps, a few things that have been fixed. So I'm glad they didn't just like completely rework it where you had to like learn the game again.
Yeah, though I admit, even playing 8th edition, I still would get into a 5th edition mindset about how certain things work. Okay. But I think one thing that's always been interesting about the way they do rule sets, and this is sort of almost an existential question really, is when they try and add flavour into the game, make it feel more realistic and all this stuff. So they've made Space Marines more tanky, they've made power swords more effective, and chainswords better at ripping through armour, and you've got better shooting options, and flyers are less interactive because of course they are, because they're 20,000 feet in the air, and so on. When they add that realism, that has tended, and I think 6th edition is the best example of this, to come at the cost of game balance. Whereas 8th edition, they pared that all back, and in some cases, like Pete Foley said, they went too far, like the terrain rules were too simple. But generally, with exceptions that I'm sure the comments are going to yell at me about, the game felt balanced. So now that they've added the flavour back, what's that going to do to the balance?
Yeah.
Even not counting this mega change that they've just made.
Yeah, like I'm getting a lot of questions now, like who's like the strongest army in 9th edition, and you can't really do that because at the moment, like the tournament scene is kind of non-existent because of again Nurgle's plague all the way around the world, so you can't really get like who's best and get the real feedback. Like I've had one game, and that's all I've managed to do this edition. But even though I enjoyed that game, and again I made a video like why I enjoyed it, I can't really go out then and say that this is better than this because you need to play a lot of games to really get into the feel of it and the mood of it, and it's just not possible at the moment. Well, it's not possible for me anyway, where I am at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Just going to be one thing to watch, and
we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Though there was actually some new models announced just a couple of days ago at the time of recording. They announced the release or upcoming release of a few new board games. Well, new-ish board games because we'd heard about them before, I think. Blitz Bowl Season 2, so Baby's First Blood Bowl. Rise of the Orcs, aka How to Annoy Every Orc Player in 5 Minutes Flat. And Crypt Hunters, which is Space Hulk meets Age of Sigmar, but they actually decided to give everyone models.
Yeah, it didn't, the first one, the Space Marines Heroes one, what's it called? Rise of the Orcs or something was it called? Did you say?
Yeah, Rise of the Orcs.
Rise of the Orcs. They did exactly the same with that, with the Necron stuff. Like, they give, like, the Necrons just these little tile things. I'm like, they would have made this box set so much better if they just did, like, cool little Necron sculpts just for that box. I think it would have sold way more stuff from having little cardboard things. And when I saw the Orc one, I thought exactly the same. Just give Orcs some new models. Why not? Just for this little box set. It would have made it so much better. Now that people can either play it as the cardboard things, or if you're an Orc player, you've got Orcs, I'd just suggest just using your Orc models instead because it makes it a more fun experience.
I would agree. But they have actually bothered with the Crypt Hunters one. I don't know if they're actually new miniatures, because the Castigators in particular look like the easy to build ones. But at least they bothered to give the bad Horde faction models, which is nice, I guess.
Again, more models. I'll always welcome that. Just give us models at the end of the day. We're hobbyists. We like it. Yeah. We want it.
Yeah. Might be a bit petty of us to say, but more models is always better. And GW has always said, we're a models company, we're not a rules company. Well, that's what they used to say anyway.
Probably everything now. Media, we're getting right into that, and I think that's going to be one of the big things GW is going to be doing in the future. More of the media stuff, which I'm looking forward to as well.
Yeah, with all the animations and all that stuff. Yeah, absolutely. But we can't neglect the classics, that being Black Library. So I'm going to let Rem talk now because he probably hasn't had a chance for the last 20 minutes. I'm going to let him talk about Black Library.
Yes, they finally updated the coming soon page recently as well. And there's going to be quite a few things up for pre-order soon. Like, for example, we got the Realm Lords number for Angel Sigmar, which I'm sure you'll be very happy about, Tactica.
Yes.
As well as the Sons of Behemat audio drama.
Yes.
But in regards to 40k, we've got a few things in regards to Warhammer Crime, such as the No Good Men anthology, as well as the... where is it? Flesh and Steel novel, which basically is a murder in the neutral zone between Imperial and Mechanicus territory. So it's like an investigator on a dangerous investigation.
Awesome.
We have a release date for the Infinite and the Divine, which is the Necron gay romance novel.
The Trazine and Oberon one.
Yeah, no, Orican.
Orican, sorry, yes, you're right.
Yeah. And that's coming out on the 3rd of October, or pre-order on the 3rd of October. They're also re-releasing the Infantryman's Handbook.
Oh, are they?
For you
I didn't
Imperial
even know
Guard
that.
fans.
I never got my hands on that, so I'll have to grab that.
Pre-order on the 19th of September.
Ooh. That's interesting.
As well as that Orc novel, Brutal Cunning, coming out in September as well. Coming out the week prior, in fact.
That's awesome.
But there's also quite a few other things, such as the Nexus anthology, which is Nexus and Other Stories. It's kind of like that Crusade and Other Short Stories anthology that they did a while back.
Yeah. Nice.
There's also a Deathwatch anthology coming out as well called The Long Vigil, which has got stuff in it by Steve Parker, Justin D. Hill, David Geimer, and more. So, don't know what the hell's in it, but it seems like pretty much every single Deathwatch thing, apart from Shadowbreaker as of late, has been an anthology.
Well, Steve Parker is the author of Shadowbreaker, so I'll be interested to see. I know Talon Squad did get some shorts, actually, between Deathwatch and Shadowbreaker, so those shorts might be in there. Because I know Talon Squad
unless they
got
decide
some.
to put, unless they decide to put the full first Deathwatch novel in there, which would be nice.
Did
That
they
would be
mention
nice.
like the new Siege of Terra in there at all coming soon? Is there anything announced on that?
There was nothing on book 5, no.
Nothing on book 5 yet, but they have revealed the next few books for the Horus Heresy Print on Demand series, which are Vulcan Lives, Unremembered Empire, Scars, Vengeful Spirit, and Damnation of Pythos. The last one being absolute shite. I'm sorry, but it was.
Also,
I
did we
don't think
just
I read
skip past
Damnation
Darkness
of
in the Blood, or
Pythos.
was I not
I
listening?
don't think I read that one at all. Is that the one with the dinosaurs on the front cover or something? I think it was. Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, there's no point reading Damnation of Pythos unless you want to read Pandorix immediately afterwards, because it's basically the prequel.
Oh,
to
is that what? Okay, right. Okay.
essentially.
Yeah. Also, did we just skip past Darkness in the Blood? Because that's important.
I was getting to that. I was just going to Horus Heresy because Valrak brought up Siege of Terra. So I thought
Sorry, it's just because you were going down the list and then you just jumped. Sorry.
yes. But it's Darkness in the Blood comes out on the 31st of October. I already have it, so woohoo.
Nice.
Damn you. And having read now the Mephiston series as well as Guy Haley's Devastation of Bile, I am so up for this book. I wish I could have got that special edition, but I didn't.
Like I remember like reading I actually got the audio of like Dante, and then I listened to that and I was like, wow, this is such a I always just saw Dante as like, Blood Angel Chapter Master, and like what he did, and like I felt like really connected then to him as a character, like what he went through, how he became the person he is. And then following that was a Devastation of Bile. And I thought that was a great book. So when they announced like Darkness in the Blood, I was like, right, I am in on this now. I can't wait to see what they do with this.
Yeah, like actually I think Devastation of Bile is one of the few times I've genuinely nearly teared up at a Warhammer novel. Like reading the last sort of bit with when he's gone all Black Rage and they're charging out of the Arx Angelicum, and then he basically dies and he has this vision with Sanguinius, and I don't consider this spoilers, it was 3 years ago, keep up. When all that's happening, that genuinely nearly got me.
Yeah.
And the Mephiston stuff by Darius Hinks, City of Light, Remnant Crusade, I haven't actually read the first one, but I've got all the plot beats now. Mephiston is so monstrous that the two of them really are reflections of one another. This noble, just done with this nonsense Dante versus the savior of them all, if he can only save himself type character that Mephiston is. That's not quite right, but close enough. It's such a good pairing. And even when Haley's had control of Mephiston, like he did in Devastation of Bile, he still plays him like Hinks's Mephiston. Like you read the two and you think, okay, yeah, that's the same dude. You think it is the same dude.
Well, I hold my hands up. I haven't read any of the Mephiston stuff, so I'll probably have to get into that.
Do it.
Yeah, I'll have to go. Are they out on audio? Because I like to do the audios, when I paint and stuff like that. That's the thing
They're
that sells
quite
it for me.
old. Revenant Crusade is very old, and City of Light is old-ish.
Right.
So they might be, but I don't follow the audio dramas particularly because
I'll have to look
I'm
them
more
up after this and see what they've got.
Yeah. They also announced a novel that is not on the coming soon page.
Oh?
The Luther novel.
Oh yeah, I read about this.
Oh,
yeah,
yes. Yes. The second book in the Horus Heresy character series. So it's not the same series as the Primarch series, obviously. It's the same series that has the Valdor novel in it. Which means the special edition is going to be covered in fucking fabric. Which I hate.
Could be worse. Could like a physics textbook.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, do you know what? Like when they announced that, I was like, "What is the first? What's the first one?" I completely forgot about the Val. Even though the Valdor one I listened to was one of the greatest things I probably listened to in the past couple of years now. I love everything about Valdor. And when Chris writes Custodes, I think he always brings like a different level to him. Like I personally think that he's the author that understands what they truly are. Like some just see them as gold characters swinging sticks around, but he understands like their personality and like how they just differ from everyone else. So when he got hold of Valdor, I was like, oh my god, this is just too good. It was amazing. I love that book.
And obviously with Gav Thorpe being a very well-versed Dark Angels writer, whether you like his material or not is up to you, it's going to be very interesting. And the blurb that they have of glory, honor, pride, shame, and betrayal weave a tapestry of truth and lies that the supreme grand masters of the Dark Angels have sought to understand and unbind across 10 millennia. Luther claims repentance, but was it his sins that condemned the chapter to its secretive fate, or should warnings from history have been more closely heeded? And it's just like...
Oh, part of me is now thinking, could this be what details the fall of Caliban?
If this is the Fall of Caliban novel, then...
I'm hyped if it is.
That could be pretty cool.
And it's actually coming out in October, so we don't even have that long to wait.
What a special edition is, anyway.
Yeah. But I think whatever happens...
Also,
it'll be-
is the cover art both Luther? Are both cover arts Luther? I'm just curious. Because...
Say that again, sorry.
Is the cover art that they show, the picture at the top, are they both Luther?
I thought one was Luther and the other was Zahariel, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think because I think that's one of the old artworks from one of those the Horus Heresy art book, isn't it? From
Actually, yeah, it does look very old now you say it. It does look old now you say it.
Yeah. But speaking of what else is coming out in October, my prayers have finally been bloody answered. They're re-releasing Blood Quest. Well, the first volume at the very least, but it's being re-released nonetheless.
I'm sure I listened to that. Not is that the one where they're in like a desert kind of thing, if I'm not mistaken? And it's like Blood Angels?
That was an audio drama that was like set between books. But this is like the first volume of the actual graphic novel.
Oh, okay then. Right. Get you. I get you. I'll have to pick that up then, because I actually really enjoyed that audio. It was a bit different from what I normally listen to with some of the stuff that was going on, but I enjoyed it. So yeah, I'll definitely look into that.
What's a bit weird is the fact that they seem to be releasing the volumes separately, even though with the Demonifuge graphic novel re-release, they released all the volumes in one big collection.
Right.
So it's a bit weird they're doing...
Well, how long is Demonifuge relative to Blood Quest?
They're about the same length in total.
Oh. Well, I think maybe pushing Demonifuge together was because if people waited for the Ephraim Stern novel, the new one, then they might not have bought the next volume of Demonifuge. That's a spoiler for the previous episode.
Maybe.
I'm snarking, but, maybe it was just to capitalise on Ephraim Stern getting a model. They put it all out at once.
It's possible, yeah. But yeah, apparently this is all going to be colorized as well, which is going to be good.
Oh, that's nice then. Yeah, that's a good
so
point.
We get to see the... since it's Volume 1, we get to see the story about the demonically possessed orc war boss that leads his own Black Crusade.
That sounds amazing. That sounds amazing.
Because 2nd edition lore.
That sounds... Oh my... Yeah, okay. I'm down to read this. That sounds too good.
Yeah. Welcome to 90s GW writing.
That sounds amazing.
Welcome to mid-90s GW writing.
I used to always love reading about that orc who went back in time and killed himself. Like he did like the what? I forgot his name was now. He just like did the warp jump and was it his gun he wanted? He wanted 2 of them or something.
So no, he didn't actually mean to go back in time, but he did, and he killed his doppelganger so that on the logic of I can have a spare of my favourite gun now, and then the war stops dead because of the confusion.
Nice.
Not because of any paradoxes. Like the orcs don't care about your paradox. But it just doesn't work anymore because oh, wait, hang on, who's the boss now? Because the boss just killed the boss who's also the boss and what?
Speaking of confusing, also coming out in October, for those who didn't get the special edition, is the Lionel Johnson novel.
Oh.
And if you're wondering why I called it confusing, if you go back and watch the episode where I actually gave spoilers for that book, you'll understand why.
Yeah, let's just say the Primarch series has been... hit and miss.
Mostly
for me, the one I've liked, I think, so far was... I love the Jagatai Khan one. Again, Chris Wright, amazing.
Really?
I really like the Jagatai Khan one. I really loved it. Can I say spoilers?
You're like the only person I've ever... You're like the only person I've ever seen who's actually liked that book.
If he says
Because
the
most people
combat
either
occurs,
don't like
Remleiz
it
is
or
gonna
they
explode.
completely forgot what's happened.
I love like when he went like rage mode and the orcs started to run away from him. I was like, this is amazing. I love Jagatai card. I love the Lehman Russ one because we got a glimpse into the Lion and Lehman having the little scrap, which I thought was like, are they really doing this in this novel? I thought they would have left that for something else. What are the other ones? I kind of like the Rebooty one. It was okay, but it wasn't the strongest one. I'm probably looking forward to the Sanguinius one and the Horus and of course the Rogue Dawn one. So it'll be interesting to see who gets to write them. Hopefully Aaron Dembski-Bowden gets to write the Sanguinius one because I know he's a huge Blood Angels fan and he wants to write Sanguinius so much. So hopefully he gets to do that.
To be honest, if not in the Sanguinius, they'll probably get it to someone like James Swallow.
Does he still write? I think he stopped writing for. Does he still write for him now? I think this. What was the last book he did? I can't even remember. To be fair, was it?
Because he's on the Siege of Terra team.
Is it James Swallow? Right. That was new to me.
Yeah, because I think a lot of us, when we saw the Siege of Terra team, a lot of us thought, Swallow's going to write 9 for Sanguinius' death, and Dembski-Bowden's going to write 10 for the Horus Emperor duel, because Dembski-Bowden wrote Master of Mankind. That then went in the bin, as far as I recall, because I don't think they came. Isn't ADB writing something else?
I think Dan Abnett is writing the last one because I think two people were doing 2 books. One was Guy Haler, if I'm not mistaken. Please correct me if I'm wrong. And the other was Dan Abnett. Dan Abnett wrote the Saturnine one, which was
that was it. It was when Dan Abnett got Saturnine because everyone thought Abnett started it, Abnett should end it.
I think that what gives it away for Aaron Dembski-Bowden is that I actually asked him about this and he just laughed. On his picture, like those like really dramatic pictures they've got of each other on the Siege of Terra website, there's like a chalice and a feather next to him, and for me that just smacks at that he's writing something Blood Angels related, like Sanguinius and stuff. Hopefully he does the Eternity Gate and stuff because I think that would be incredible.
Yeah, because the authors for the series, you got Gail Thorpe, you got Guy Haley, Dan Abnett, Chris Raitt, Aaron Dembski-Bowden, Nick Kime, Neil Roberts, John French. Is that? Oh, is it just them then?
Yeah, I said 10, but I meant 8 because there was only 8 of them.
I thought James Swallow was part of it.
Maybe he's doing like one of the like a novella or something because even though Graham McNeil was part of the team, he only has done a novella, right? I don't think he's actually getting a main book.
Yeah,
if not was.
No, he's only doing novellas. Yeah,
so maybe that's they may do something like that with him.
So we got 8 books and we got 8 books, 8 authors.
No.
Yes. Yeah, so Dan Abnett probably won't be writing the last one then, so we've got 4 books left and we've had 4 authors already.
Yeah, I don't know if we're getting the Siege of Terror on our wires crossed with Dawn of Fire, which is also out very soon, by the way.
Tomorrow, right? It comes out the first one.
So we're waiting for a book from Chris Ray, a book from ADB, a book from Nick Kime, and a book from Neil Roberts.
I don't think Nick Kime's a part of the team. I think Nick Kime's just the overall editor of it.
No,
if I'm not mistaken.
Is it?
No, Nick Kime's editing for Dawn of Fire.
I'm sure he's not part of the Siege of Terror team.
Because on the actual on the Siege of Terror website, it's got Meet the Authors, and you got Nick Kime there.
All right then, so he must be doing it then. Yeah, okay then.
So it'll be interesting to see then who writes what. Because I can't put my finger on a Neil Roberts book. I don't know that's bad, but I can't put my finger on one.
I think Nick Kime was probably going to do the Vulcan, where Vulcan is at Terra, maybe because I know he got in there, didn't he? With was it Vulcan? No, it wasn't Vulcan Lives. It was the next one to that. I forgot what it's called now.
Nick Kime is the Salamanders guy in Modern Era as well.
What we shall see.
But yeah, it will be interesting to see how it shakes out. I had something I was going to say. We lost that train of thought now. But yes, speaking of spoilers, Rem, I'm assuming you've been reading something this week.
Yes, I also realised I never got round to talking about the spoilers from Regent Shadow after that first bit, but it's been so long now I've probably forgotten most of it. So anyway, I'm about halfway through reading through Manflayer, the new Fabius Bile novel.
Yes, Josh Reynolds' last hurrah for the Black Library.
So, interesting thing to start off with, that's not really a spoiler, but just an interesting bit of information from the book anyway. Ab-Eldari are a thing. Like Eldari abhumans, essentially.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, this is a strain that's basically devolved into, like, bats.
Yes, I've recently just finished this book, and I have to say that I've never been a fan of Chaos, of course, Imperium and stuff, but after reading this series, I put it up there with like the Eisenhorn kind of series, where the character is so well done that it makes you like him no matter what he does. Like, you respect him as a character, and I have to take my hat off to Josh. I know he's like left Black Library, like you said. I've got to say, if that is a book to go out with, then what a cracking book. Yeah, amazing book.
It's kind of like Ahriman. I've not read the Fabius Bile novels because Slanesh and that creeps me out. But Ahriman's books by John French, same thing. You're not supposed to like Ahriman because of who he is and what he does, but you end up really liking Ahriman.
Yeah.
Sorry, go
on. What was I saying? Oh yeah, yes. Fabius Bile's daughter turns up again in this.
Do we need to spoil the warning?
We will spoil. And how long? The book's been out for a little while now, actually. So
it's been out for like 2 months, I think now, if I'm not mistaken.
2 months.
Yeah, it's not like a limited edition where we have to put a massive spoiler.
No, it's been out for a while, so we can probably talk about it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. Gigahorse Deluxe has been sharing passages in regards to Lady Malice on Twitter.
Yeah, it's been posting like the 40k lore Reddit and everything like that, like all the extracts and stuff, and people have been commenting on it. So I think people know what's going on in it.
Wait, Lady Malice is in this?
No, she gets name dropped from what I've seen so far.
Okay.
But yeah, it seems to hint that her and Vector are apparently back on good terms or something, which is a bit weird.
I mean, to be fair, their relationship is one of the most on-off things, because like it seems like they were like consort to one another. Then Malice got too big for her boots and went off to do her own thing, and then they had the whole argument about Kane's Gate where they both thought they were trying to crack it open. Then it actually cracked open, and like now where does everyone stand? Because it's Manplayer pre or post Rift? Sorry.
This I think it's pre-Rift.
Okay.
I think. Well, the chapter I'm on so far is pretty, because there's like sections. It's like, you got a section that's just shortly after the Horus Heresy, and there's a section that's like M37. I think we're at like M39 or something now.
I'm just ruled in it, so I don't want to spoil it for you, but it does. There's mentions. Let's just say there's mentions of Primaris in there and stuff like that.
Oh, so it does. Okay, yeah. So it does go to present day. Okay, I was expecting it to, considering all the time jumps we had so far.
Yeah. I won't rule for you because it's something big. It's in there, and it will spoil it for you. But yeah, it definitely gets to where we are. Well, I'd say where we are now, but you know what I mean. There's in the current timeline what's going on.
I just love the so basically the basic premise is Fabius Bile, after the second book, he fucked off to Camorra. He got trained up by the homunculi. He left Camorra. The Drukhari got pissed off with him for leaving without their permission and taking all their knowledge with him, as you understandably so. So the Drukhari have basically been raiding a bunch of his cache worlds to basically lure him out. And there's one scene where they're preparing to launch an ambush against the Drukhari by going to this one world to prepare. Sorry, I pumped my dog. And they go to this world disguised as Imperial Space Marines. Just like, and everyone thinks, oh, they're here to test for new aspirants for their chapter. Yeah, it's a big celebration. And you got one of his followers, hiding his deformities under a helmet, going, "This is really embarrassing." And Fabius is like, "Just shut up, smile, and wave. That's a good servant of the Corpse Emperor."
Yeah, they're like throwing a parade through out there. It's like they're walking through and stuff. They're like, "Wait, what is this?" And everyone's like, "Yay, Space Marines! Space Marines are here!" Yeah. I was giggling at that bit. I was like, "If only you knew. If only you knew."
Yeah, it's also almost up there. As in from the that bit from Palatine Phoenix where he has Josh wrote that scene at the dinner party and you got the Space Marine standing at the buffet table with a tiny little plate.
Yeah, that's one of your favourite scenes to reference for when 40k decides to do comedy.
It's adorable. There's this big space marine just with a tiny little plate looking at the hors d'oeuvres going, ooh.
I do like this.
Aye.
As you do. We had just got into the scene where Drukhari basically activated a quantum singularity through a Grotex that's basically blew pretty much everything up.
Sucks everything in and stuff, yeah.
As you
And
do.
it's like, as you do. And then when Fabius Bile comes back, because he always does, by the way, half your consortium's fucked off with your stuff.
They're just like, oh, quick, let's just take everything. Let's set up our own thing, yeah. And he's like, not even bothered. He's like, okay, let's do this.
Yeah.
Good old fun.
Oh, one other brilliant piece of comedy, when they're preparing to launch the ambush against Drukhari, there's a bit where, like, this Death Guard apothecary just, like, comes up to the Night Lord apothecary, just claps him chummily on the shoulder, walks off, and the Night Lord immediately starts spraying his shoulder with disinfectant.
Yeah. This is that's why I love what Josh does. Like, there's so like that little, just those little bits in there. That is something that you'd probably do. It's like, oh, the guy just touched me. Get away from me, kind of thing. I love it. Really good book.
Oh, and there was also a scene where Fabius Bile fights and kills a giant bat version of himself.
As you do.
Yep.
As you do. And it's like, ooh, aren't you a pretty little thing? I'm just going to drive torment right into your fucking guts.
Good old Fabius.
Because you do. Yes. And then you realise, like, oh shit, the Harlequins are behind all this crap, aren't they? They're
always behind everything, aren't they?
Damn
Yeah.
it.
Everything that's in that is just, god damn it, Harlequins.
Why must you make me the king of feathers? I don't want to be. Bugger off.
Yeah.
I just want to grill.
Sorry.
But it's a really enjoyable novel so far.
Yeah, I love it.
Good.
Like the dramatic pieces of the comedy is there, but it's not, too frequent. It's like there just the right time to inject and much needed bit of levity.
It adds a bit of more story into it, because it's like I said, it's like how these chapters would probably react to each other as well, being around each other in these kind of close quarters and stuff. So yeah, it's not over. It's not like every line is just jokes and stuff. It actually really is a serious and grim story, but you just have that thrown in there, and it just lightens the mood a little bit.
Yeah. It's still a little jarring at first when you read about, like, oh yeah, he's going to his creche, and all the little new human kids are going up to him going like, Uncle Fabius, and he's got like kneels down and has his arms and like, come here kids, kind of thing. It's like, fucking hell.
Yeah, but the
I never imagined someone like Fabius Bile to be like, like, hey, it's cool Uncle Fabius kind of thing.
I can imagine that is a bit jarring the first time.
And they all proper respect him and stuff, and it's just like, yeah, the way they see him is like kind of a god figure, and yeah, I love it. Yeah.
They keep dropping hints that, oh yes, apparently you might become a god because everyone's now worshipping you here, Fabius. And it's like, he's like, yeah, but I don't want to be a god. Fuck off.
Yeah, Fabius is one of the most devoted atheists. Well.
And have I cut out?
You did for about 10 seconds, but you're back now.
You're back.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I debated about reading the new Last Chances novel, but I didn't think I'd have time to read it before the show, so I picked up, off my shelf, Lady of Sorrows, the Lady Olinda novel for Sigmar, and actually managed to read it all in like 24 hours. It's not that long, but it was actually really interesting.
Cool.
Now, granted, I know Age of Sigmar, but so some people might not care, but I'm going to talk about it anyway because it was quite interesting. So it pulls a very, very ballsy move, because the back cover is about, Lady Olinda, there's a curse upon these two towns that sit on the ruin of this former town, and it's a curse where Lady Olinda will come and nearly wipe them out every generation, yada, yada, yada. And this one individual, born of Azir and Shaiish, can break the fated prophecy in diddly diddly dee, and that protagonist dies in chapter 3.
Ha!
Just like, they assemble this grand army to go on a quest to stop Lady Olinda, and she makes him throw himself off a bridge in chapter 3. And it's just like, right, well, he's dead now. What do we do? And so it follows the survivors of his grand army, which is about 10 people. One of whom is half flesh eater ghoul. And then they've got this dichotomy of two cities fighting together, where one city is claimed by people from Azir, and the other is the natives of Shyish, and they don't get on. They're still allied under Sigmar, but they don't get on. So you've got this warrior priest of Azir and this mage of Shyish, who are like so polar opposites to one another. And you've got the different soldiers from different cities and all that stuff. But it introduces the idea that, well, it introduces a lot of different things, but it sets up this character, who is essentially she's the Shyishan Oracle of Delphi, if you like.
Right.
And the plot says, she's Lady Olinda's sister-in-law, because Lady Olinda, in her canon, murders her new husband and father-in-law in order to seize the throne of that kingdom. And as a result of this, Nagash punishes her by making her marry Kurdos Valentinian, the Craven King, and it's awful. The Nighthawk are just punished horribly by Nagash. They deserve it most of the time, but it's not very nice. But the Oracle is Olinda's sister-in-law, who hid herself in a singularity time-locked palace that could only be accessed by confessing your sins as a way to keep Olinda out, because she'd never confessed to what she'd done. And they go and hunt this Oracle down, and they work their way through different undead problems and Shayishan problems to make it to Olinda's crypt and to the prophecy chamber. And then Olinda attacks them, and they all start dying. And at the end, the ghost of the guy who threw himself off a bridge in Chapter 3, his sword breaks the seal on the prophecy box, if you like, and it breaks the curse. But here's the twist. The curse wasn't on the towns. The curse was on Olinda, because no matter how many times she attacked, she always lost at the last minute, and the humans just about survived. Because Olinda was the one cursed, not the towns. So she was cursed to keep attacking them and always lose, and then the curse is broken. Double meaning.
Ooh, funker.
So Olinda is probably on screen, if you like, for about 20 combined pages in the entire book. But she hovers over everything, and the Oracle is actually her. It's like a fragment of her. So it was all a trap. It was all a trap right from the start. So it just shows how ridiculously overpowered the Mortarchs are. Because that was really interesting, because the whole premise of it's a book about trying to defeat a Mortarch. The Mortarchs are not going to lose. They're the Mortarchs. They're kind of invincible for a reason-ish, aside from when Archaon gets his hands on them. But that's beside the point. There was no way Olinda was losing. But you think, well, Olinda's not going to lose. She's just not going to be made to attack this town anymore. So maybe the heroes do have a chance if they put their differences aside and continue to believe and note psych. The Mortarch of Grief will shatter your dreams and take a dump on them. Well, spectral dump on them. And you will always lose. And they send the last survivor back. And all he can say is, the curse is broken. And he knows his towns are doomed. All he can say is that we've been damned in his own way. All he can say is, the curse is broken. So the townsfolk are like, phew, we lost everyone, but at least we broke the curse. Little did they realise Linda's going to wipe them out in about 10 minutes. And book ends.
Well, that seems emotional. Well, that seems like emotional.
Endings.
Yeah. Welcome to Age of Sigmar's writing. It's really good. It's C.L. Werner, this one, who has written some other stuff before. Its names have gone out ahead at this moment. But C.L. Werner is very good. And generally the writing of the Mortarchs, whether it's been Neferata, Archon, Manfred, even Catacross, and now Olinda, they really make them out to be, they're people, but they're also unstoppable. But they're also really interesting because Archon engineered a meeting between Sigmar and Nagash for the first time in eons at the end of Soul Wars. Manfred is constantly trying to overthrow Nagash, even though he will never succeed. Olinda is a damned soul who essentially was too greedy for her own good, and Nagash slapped her up for it and turned her into just a living weapon of terror. And then you have Catacross, who is a general of an army that opposed Nagash, that turned traitor to fight for Nagash and got made into a Mortarch of mass murder, who nearly conquered Archaon. Well, conquered the 8 points, then Archaon just slapped him into next month. But Sigmar's writing is really good. Please read it. Alright, I'm done now. Yeah, so I will try and read Armageddon Saint for the next episode, because people like the last chances. So, though, actually, I might get Avenging Sun first, and then Ram and I will talk about that next week. I don't know.
Yeah, that comes out tomorrow, right? If I'm not mistaken, on audio. I'll pick the audio up and do it this week and stuff. I'm looking forward to see what they do with that series. Should be interesting.
Yeah, because they sort of describe it as the Horus Heresy, but with editorial oversight.
Yeah,
because that was the one problem with the Heresy, is it got a little bit
it was
cross-contaminated with itself.
It was there was so much going on. So I'm hoping that this goes into some of the lesser known, or some of the chapters that haven't really, or bits of the Imperium really that hasn't really been explored recently and stuff like that. So hopefully it brings some light into places where it hasn't been before. That's what I'm really looking forward to with this series.
I'm interested to see if the series will ever, because this is the Adeptus Crusade, I'm wondering if it will go to that point, hey, we're here to save Kachan. And it's like, now we already beat everyone up.
Well, it's on the Space Marines, we don't need you. That's all. We did this.
I think they'll probably do a book on Catachan, just showing off the or maybe what they'll do is that the whole book will be in media res of the Adeptus Crusade arrives at Catachan, and it's like, wait, you're fine? Yeah, we're fine. We dealt with that. And then the whole book is just the Catachans kicking ass.
That would be amazing. I'd be down for that. I love the Catachan Jungle Fighters. I think they're one of my favourite guard regiments, just Rambos. So if they do a book of them, then yes, please.
And they do say that it's not just going to be a Space Marine schmoz, where it's all going to be... It actually said in the interview with Guy Haley that Guilliman is not going to be... You're not going to see anything from Guilliman's perspective for a bit. So like Avenging Sun, it's got his name on it, but it's everyone else's perception of Guilliman that you're going to see. Guilliman himself will probably not be a main character for several books, though he'll never not be there, I suspect.
I actually think they're going to fold the Dark Imperium and Plague Wars, and I know guys working on the third one of that. Probably like Devastation of Bile and stuff. So. I know they're at the end, but I think that they'll eventually be folded into this series somehow. Maybe some retcons here and there, because...
Also, can we just point out that Guy Haley wrote all of those? He wrote Devastation of Bile, and he wrote Dark Imperium and Plague War. Sort of like Regent Shadow is the prequel. Then we have all this stuff, and then all the Guy stuff is just slotted in this interconnected universe.
I'm convinced that he's not really human and he's a robot, because the amount of stuff he writes and how he just gets it out is just unnatural. He's just so fast at writing stuff, and it's good stuff as well. I actually enjoy his stuff. It's not like it's bad stuff. I've actually enjoyed every Guy Haley book.
There are exceptions.
Which one do you like? Which book?
Ram.
The Conrad Kurz novel.
Oh, I haven't read that. I haven't read that one. Sorry,
I
hold my hands up.
I was like, if he says the Conrad Kurz novel is good, Ram's going to have.
I haven't read that one. I have not read that one at all. So I'll have to wait to judge that one.
I mean, not to be a dead horse, because even though we're still waiting on Dishonoria's review of it, she's still working on it.
That tells you just how much the big Night Lords fans have to say.
She had about 12 pages of just notes pointing out everything wrong with it. Just notes. 12 pages.
And by wrong, we don't mean nitpicking, we mean doesn't fit with established Night Lords canon.
Because there is a lot of it.
Oh boy.
I still can't believe he'd say that. Oh yeah, Nostromo, it's full of neon lights and it's very hot. It's like, but it's never been depicted like that ever. It's meant to be a cold, dark, miserable place. You just turn into Gotham City.
Is that what it says in there? It's a strange one.
It's like, I swear he confused Nostromo with Mordian. Because Mordian is a world of nocturnal light that is meant to be stiflingly hot, because the Mordian year is the same as the Mordian day.
Boy, yeah, I'll have to give it a little whirl and see what it's about. See if if it's good or not. It doesn't sound too good though.
I mean, there's literally a scene where Kurz is crucifying live rats.
Okay. All right, I'll check this out. Is it on audio? I'll have to see if it's on audio because this is when I listen to it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's on audio.
I'll get it downloaded. I got some credits and
there's also a bit where he points out how Rogel Dawn is dead as well.
Someone sent me some of that stuff as soon as it came out, because if anything happens with Imperial Fists, I normally get bombarded with it so much, and I did see that little like passage and stuff like that where that got mentioned in it. So
yeah, well, Rogel Dawn is Schrodinger's Primarch. So
oh yeah, I mean, are you aware of the Schrodinger's Primarch?
The what
Analogy for
What's
Dawn?
this one?
Dawn being Schrodinger's Primarch, like how he's literally dead and alive and missing and found all at the same time in the same book.
No, I'm not familiar with this. No, at all.
It's in one of the Deathwatch RPGs. I think, if I was top of my head, I think it's Rites of Battle. Literally, they're talking about the Imperial Fist, and they talk about the backstory, and talk about Rogel Dawn, and they say how Rogel Dawn, his body was never found, only his hand was recovered, and then literally the next page show how the Imperial Fist chief librarian found Rogel Dawn's body and brought him back to the Phalanx. And then there's a quote from Rogel Dawn in the present day.
Oh my god. I have to go read this now. This is amazing. Who edited this book? Did it say the editors at all?
It was about like a team of like 20 people in this book. It was a fucking useless thing.
Oh my god, that's amazing. This page is dead.
Schrodinger's Primarch.
Yes.
And then there's the War of the Beast that says that where Vulcan says, "I'll tell Rogel you did a good job."
Yeah, even with me, I was like, wait, what? What's going on here? What's this? He's going to start Dom what now?
Yeah.
It's, again, Rogel Dawn is Schrodinger's Primarch.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair though, if you want to get people talking, make a Primarch reference, like the Alpha Legion novel where everyone said there's a third Primarch, and all that. You want people to talk, make it something about Primarch, but not the 2nd or 11th Primarch, because that will get you in trouble.
Funny enough, I think the only person who's talked about either of those missing Primarchs has been Josh Reynolds, because he mentions about the 2nd Primarch a couple of times.
Yeah, he does it in Palatine Phoenix, doesn't he?
Because he mentions him in the Palatine Phoenix, and he mentions him in the 2nd Fabius Bile novel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember, yeah.
And did I cut out?
No, I heard that. Yeah, I remember that, because didn't he say he, was it the 2nd Primarch that went out farther than someone else or something, and he dabbled with like some kind of Xenos? Am I dreaming this? I'm not too sure.
Yeah, he basically went towards
was it the Gaul Stars?
Towards Solomon, I think it was.
Yeah, he went out to the Reaches, and so because I remember a lot of people saying, "Oh, do you think he got involved with the Xenos in a way?"
No, it was towards in the Fabius Bile, he mentioned that he headed towards Solomon's, because that's basically where Fabius Bile was going, because they were going to Trajan's backyard to get stuff, weren't they?
Yeah, and I think this mentions somewhere in the black books or the red books for the heresy of redacted being involved in the Rangdan Xenocides. So there's been that too.
Oh, it's all coming together bit by bit.
I think, to be honest, though, I think that those hints were probably a bit much, and probably that if Josh Reynolds was still working for them, he would be banned from talking about the Lost Primarchs ever again.
Yeah, it was, I remember reading years and years ago, the authors got told to stop, because they used to really tease everyone, didn't they? At the start of the Horus Heresy, and they had to drag it down a little bit because there was so much. But what about this about the Lost Legion and this and this and this? They kept getting questions and stuff like that. So I think they reined it back in a bit.
Yeah, because I remember one thing Josh Reynolds said in regard to the Palatine Phoenix novel is that because it's set just after Fulgrim was reunited with the Imperium. This would have been around the time the 2nd Primarch was still running around, so he was basically said, am I allowed to reference him because he is actually around at this point in time? And he was like, yeah, just as long as you make it very vague. Which he did. He's basically like, oh yes, the Quiet Master of the 2nd broke his silence to accuse Fulgrim of hubris. And that's pretty much all we had. But it's at least we got something.
Yeah, we got something from this.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Though I did hear a rumour that apparently, and I don't know if this is true, but apparently Black Library Games Workshop actually gave Dan Abnett permission to write what happened to the 2nd 11th Primarchs, but his ideas they didn't like, so they said, fuck it, screw it, we won't bother.
Oh, really?
I think
again, I don't know if that's true, but if it is, it would be quite interesting.
if we ever get Abnett on the show, we'll have to remember to ask him.
Yeah,
I'm sure he'd divulge that information. Yes, this is what happened to the second 11 Primarch. Oh, hopefully he does.
If he's allowed
Yeah,
to
he's
tell us,
allowed,
of course.
it would just be like no comment, redacted.
Inquisition shuts it
It's
down.
like, what happened is disconnected.
Yeah, generally that would be a perfect place for censored moment.
Just
So,
silence.
damn it, you left us all hanging. But yeah, I don't know what really if we'll ever. I don't think we should find out about 2 and 11. Or I do and I don't, because I like not knowing, but I'd also like to know. It's kind of a weird double edge.
I would love to know what, like, we all know what Horus did, and that's talked about. What did they do, and they're not talked about. Do you know what I mean? It's that kind of intrigue. Like, what did they really?
Well, someone actually asked me that. Like, why is Horus remembered when 2 and 11 aren't? Because Horus arguably probably did something far worse than 2 and 11 in the grand scheme of things. Because according to the way the lore is written, it's not true, but it's the way it's written. He turned 9 Primarchs traitor and then marched on Terra itself. And you would think that, well, surely if you're going to wipe someone from history, you would wipe out the guy who nearly crashed the Imperium versus 2 blokes who probably did something that the Emperor didn't approve of and were wiped out far too early for anyone to have written it down. But the argument I had about it was sort of like, well, you can't wipe Horus from history because A, Abaddon is right there, B, the Chaos Space Marines are right there, and I get the feeling that if we had been at a state of 10 and 10, or say one of the Lost had turned traitor, that would have been written down.
Yeah.
As a cautionary tale to the other 18 or 19, this is what happens to you.
But we'll never know.
Because isn't that sort of... yeah, because isn't it? It's in the thing with Malkador where Horus tries to invoke one of their names and is nearly choked to death by Malkador with the Force.
Him, yeah. Get out
so clearly whatever they did was not just they turned on the Emperor, because that would have been left as a cautionary tale of this is what will happen to you if, not wiped from all records and never to be spoken about again.
Speaking of that Malkador thing, one thing I always found weird about that story is that when they were tearing down the statue of like the second Primarch or whatever, like the Primarch's confronting Malkador about a Horus, Chagatai Khan, and Alfarius, even though pretty much all the lore has told us that the second 11 Primarchs were basically fucked off before Alfarius turned up.
Like Horus, you understand, he's seen them all. Khan,
yeah, Chagatai Khan you can understand as well. But Alfarius is the one I find hard to believe, considering like he wasn't meant to be around at this point.
Like conceptually, Alfarius being there makes total sense. He is the shifty one, the secretive one, the one who doesn't do things by the book, much to Gilliman's consternation. So you understand conceptually why he would object to the Lost Primarchs being torn down, but he shouldn't be there.
No. And again, I think the closest thing we have to find out what the Lost Primarchs did was in that story chamber at the end of Memory. You know, where Rogaldon basically finds what are essentially the tombs of the second 11 Primarchs.
Yeah.
Even though they're not technically tombs. We don't know if they're tombs or if they're just their bedrooms, you know.
And though actually, given that we're getting the Dark Angels in Book 9, I suspect we're going to get a lot of lore on the Rangdan Xenocides. Because of just the sheer effect that had on the Dark Angels. It took them from the preeminent legion to basically...
We had a lot of the lore in regards to the Rangdan Xenocides in the Black Books already.
I thought that all we knew was there were some Xenos called the Rangdan, the Dark Angels wiped them out with some help redacted, and were nearly obliterated as a result. I didn't realise we knew much more than that.
It was detailed in Inferno.
Oh,
because it was talking about... Yeah, because it was talking in regards to the Space Force. The Space Force were involved in the conflict as well.
Oh, yes.
I'll have to read about that.
And it mentioned in regards to the amount of casualties the Imperial suffered. It was like... Imperial Army regiments, Titan legions, and the quote redacted Space Marine legions.
Yeah, so they had the option there, I suppose, to drop another hint, but they didn't, so they probably won't again.
Though that is hinted at again in that issue of the Regimental Standard. You know, they're dressing a lasgun wound article where it says like, oh yes, those taking part in the Rangdan Xenocides, you're getting reinforcements from the 2nd and 11th Legions, also known as...
Redacted.
then it's not even down, it's just covered up by a bit of paper.
Oh. That works too.
Nice.
And it's like, you bastards.
Yeah.
So they do confirm, therefore, that 2 and 11 are in the Xenocides. So they have, anytime they want to, the chance to flesh out 2 and 11, because they've got a place where they are both there, at least.
They probably stuck over the Xenos and got purged. Get out of here. Something like that.
I mean, the argument could be that to show that the Great Crusade was invincible, maybe they were just wiped out by the Rangdan, but because that wasn't allowed to be, wait, we lost a legion? We lost 2 legions and 2 Primarchs to 1 race of Xenos? Wipe that from history. We can't see the Imperium lose. Reject that immediately.
One thing I did find very interesting in regards to that Chamber of the End memory story is that basically, off camera, Malkador tells Rogal Dorn what happened to the lost Primarchs, because he had his mind wiped, so he doesn't remember. And all we see in the aftermath is him leaving, the chamber, and he basically says, like, well, it's a good thing they're not around, because if they were still around, they would have already lost.
That's why I think maybe they were, like, anti-Imperium
And did I cut out again?
thing. And, like, they maybe, all the massacre upon the Xenos, they're like, no, this is not right, kind of thing.
Did I cut out?
You got to, it's a good thing they lost.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
It's a good thing they weren't around, because if they were still around, then the Imperium would have already lost the heresy.
Implying that 2 and 11 would have sided with Horus.
Yeah, or did something so bad that it would have fucked everything up for everyone.
Because, imagine 2 and 11 conspired to assassinate. Maybe they were mad at not being in the Dauntless Four, so they conspired to assassinate the Dauntless Four. Or something like that, which admittedly one of them is Horus.
Actually, I just realised something. This does actually tie in with 2nd edition lore. Because in 2nd edition, in the Ultramarines Codex, it does briefly talk about the Horus Heresy, and it talks about the Primarchs, and even though 2 and 11 were erased from history, it did say that they sided with Horus.
So, 2nd edition portrayed it as 11v9?
Yeah,
I didn't know that at all. That's interesting. That might be like a kind of a nod then back to the second thing then from that.
I mean, that is a 25-year payoff.
All is planned.
A very, very subtle 25-year payoff.
All is planned.
But yeah, it'd be interesting, obviously, to see what 2 and 11 did to get what they got. And obviously, it's heavily implied that Russ was the one that did it, because, Russ.
Yeah.
So
even though Wolf King actually says that before his fight with Magus, he didn't even know if a Primarch could be killed.
To be fair, the only loyalist Primarch that has got an official kill count is one and only Rogal Dorn. Yeah. That's why he's technically the best loyalist
yeah,
Primarch.
because Guilliman probably killed Omegon, but we can't prove it.
Debatably Guilliman, yeah.
Yeah, debatably Guilliman killed Omegon, but Dawn definitely killed one of them, probably Alvarius.
Yeah. He definitely killed Alvarius.
Yeah, because even the author stated, that happened. Even though people was like, yeah, it's just, everyone's Alvarius. Is like, no, it was definitely Primarch.
All you got to do is just read the epilogue where Omegon says, like,
now.
oh shit, I'm alone now, fuck.
You try to tell people this, they're like, nope, I'm Alvarius. It's like, okay, let's leave this here then.
They're more likely to believe that there were 3 Primarchs than that one of them just so happened to die.
Even though there was only the 2.
I'm referring to the Alpha Legion novel where one of them was the Deceiver.
Yeah,
because people saw that and thought, third Alpha Legion Primarch confirmed, oh my god.
It wasn't even that, it was that people thought...
the free head to the Hydra kind of thing. I think that'd be pretty cool.
It wasn't even that, it was the fact that people thought that this Lord Dominatus was actually Omegon, and then Psychic's the Deceiver.
Yeah, it's one of those, but that people were quicker to jump on there being 3 Primarchs than one of them having the temerity to be dead. But,
It's because people like their memes.
People like their memes, and people don't like it when their Primarchs die, unless they're... Because, I remember... whenever you talk about Primarch's death, and the Crystal Sanguinius, oh god, the stink that went up at the Crystal Sanguinius. And we've already talked about Schrödinger's Primarch. Vulcan lives, is a meme, but he's probably dead, but if he isn't dead, then why has he not been around for the last 10,000 years and all that? And then you've got Corax, who's a shadow demon now, and Lorgar, who's been singing songs of praise for 10,000 years. Perturabo, who's been doing Navhall. Angron, who can't take one blow in the world without trying. Horus, who got cloned and resurrected, and Abaddon just smashed him in the face with the... Why didn't he? He snapped World Breaker.
Stabbed
I'm always convinced
snapped
that a
World
clone is... I'm so torn on this. Is a clone a real Primarch? Does it, like, have, like, the Emperor's magic in him and stuff? Like, what we believe, like, they were made with chaos? Does a clone bring that over? It's...
I mean...
Well, considering that the warp was in their very DNA and the clone was a perfect replica from a DNA perspective, the only difference... the only thing that the clone of Horus lacked was the chaos enhancements from when he pledged himself to the ruinous powers.
And we know that clone Horus, despite the fact having no idea where he was or what he was doing, battered...
He remembered Abaddon.
He battered everyone until he got to Abaddon. And
Yeah,
then
like,
he
he's been-
recognised
Yeah, because
him.
isn't the memories stored in the blood, if I remember correctly, from Clone Lord? Because Fulgrim starts to remember, like, about Ferris and stuff.
Genetic memory, yeah.
But again, this is another thing. Like, we're described as, like, how did... And, like, we know how Abaddon defeated Horus, but lore-wise, would that make sense with what Horus is and who he was? And
Well, again, bear in mind, at this point, the clone of Horus, he had been shot repeatedly by, like, bolt fire, heavy bolters, it had been stabbed by poison blades, it had been mauled by a demonic wolf, it was beating the shit out of everyone, and then he let his guard down, allowing Abaddon to plunge the talon into Horus's chest and get several bolter rounds off inside the wound.
yeah, that is true.
I think the only slightly unbelievable bit is the fact that the Talon shattered Worldbreaker. Like, of all the unbelievable things, that he caught Worldbreaker in the Talon, Horus jumped and was like, Abaddon? Son? And Abaddon's having none of this, and shatters Worldbreaker with the Talon. That's the most unbelievable thing that happens in that scene.
Doesn't Abaddon have glowy eyes in that book? Or was that me just thinking certain things?
I don't recall him being mentioned having glowing eyes.
I must be thinking.
Certainly he hasn't had them since.
I thought he had, like, glowy eyes at one point, and I thought maybe he was, like, infected by the war, but, we're not Abaddon's like. He doesn't like that kind of stuff. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's... The clone... and obviously we know about clone Ferrus Manus that was killed a million times. There's clone Fulgrim, and we know that Bile was cloning all the Primarchs, but they were all in their adolescence, like, prepubescent stage. When
it wasn't that. A whole bunch of them were, like, just mutated. Like, there was a clone of Lorgar, which was literally just a pile of meat which had Lorgar's head, and there was also another clone of Fulgrim that was basically a squid.
Yeah, it was like the scene from was it like Aliens 4 when
Resurrection.
when she goes into, like, all the different clones of her and stuff. That's how I pictured that scene. It was just a weird bunch of jars with different Primarchs in, with, like, different limbs and stuff. It's like, okay, this is strange.
And it's interesting that we're talking about Bile again, given that we were talking about the Manflayer and how likable, respectable it makes Bile.
Yeah, that's
and
what I
then
mean. Yeah,
you get back to Black Legion, and he's just this sadistic monster who will just make mutated clones of Primarchs for the hell of it.
As you do.
As you do.
Bile.
So, yeah, it's just, testament to good writing.
Yeah, it's great.
Given the time, do we have time for any questions?
We've been going for about an hour and 45 minutes, and, well, a little less. And given we didn't get a chance last episode to do questions, I think maybe we did, but not loads. I think we probably
should try and get a couple done.
Indeed.
Okay.
Do we know where the Chaos Gods, air quote, themes come from? Why is Khorne's realm all to do with brass? And why is Tzeentch all about birds and bluebirds in particular, and so on? Do we know where their sort of aesthetic and theme came from?
I have no idea.
I'm aware of.
No idea.
Well, there's a couple of replies that gave some ideas, sort of like that brass and bronze were the first weapons of war, hinting back to the Bronze Age,
good.
which is not. And crows.
Wouldn't the first weapons be stone, though?
Or
stone,
sticks.
yes, it would be, but the difference with the Stone Age to the Bronze Age in terms of actual, like, forged weapons of war, I think
yeah, true, fair enough.
And then crows and ravens are culturally seen as tricksters. And Odin, a trickster magic god raven, allowed Odin to see everything in the 9 worlds, which may be where Tzeentch comes along.
Nice.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And you've got, I think, probably Slaanesh and 666, and all that. Yes, Slaanesh is not the classic the devil, but I suppose when you think
what Slaanesh is? Slaanesh is basically sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Yeah.
And obviously succubi as a concept, it comes from demons and hell, and so 6 makes sense. Nurgle is, I don't know why Nurgle is just an obese fat bloke with a cauldron.
Disgusting.
It's just the plague and...
Because disgusting. That's basically the reason.
Pot bellies and...
But like, why is he so happy?
Because it's...
Because jolly fat
Jolly fat man spreading plagues and licking things, I suppose.
The jolly fat man is a trope as old as time. You just look at Santa Claus.
You say Nurgle is Santa Claus? Confirmed?
Yeah,
This is why you shouldn't celebrate Christmas.
Oh, Merry Christmas! Here's a bola.
Moving onwards! Okay, since we've been talking about Fabius Bile, this is more a what if than a serious question, in their own words. But what if Fabius Bile and Belisarius Cawl teamed up? How doomed will the galaxy be, since both are narcissistic ancient masters of many skills, and if they put their heads together towards a common goal, I shudder to think of the results.
That could be like one of the most amazing combinations I could think of. It's kind of like Dantiok and I forgot his name now. The Alexis Pollux. Yeah, I shouldn't forget his name. Like when they bromanced, I was like, oh, this is a match made in heaven. I think those two would be a match made in heaven. You have Cawl and Fabius. They could probably bounce with each other and just make so much mad stuff. It'd be great.
It would certainly be interesting, because give Cawl the resources of the Dark Mechanicum and give Fabius, access to Primaris gene seed and say go.
It wasn't only the Primaris gene seed. I think didn't he have access to the Primarch gene seed as well, if I'm not mistaken?
He did.
Yeah.
He had access to all 20 in the Sanguinius Portum. I said Primaris rather than Primarch because Fabius probably already has.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, because he's already cloned him.
But bear in mind, most of his supplies of Primarch DNA probably got nuked when Harmony got.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah,
true. That's why he had to try and steal the blood of Sanguinius that time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did anything ever come of that?
No, because they fell just short, and then I don't. I think
no, because I know he basically gave the file back to Rafa and said, "Take it. I don't need it anyway. I've got all the information I need from it already." It's like, oh shit.
Oh boy.
I mean, to be fair, Bile is sort of Chekhov's gun of when you need chaos to have new shiny things. He's Chekhov's gun.
Yeah.
Okay, so since we didn't get to talk about it before, spoiler for Watch the Throne Regent Shadow, if we consider it spoilers. Do you think it is safe to assume that the Administratum is in control of the Minotaurs due to how they acted in the Regent Shadow? Which now I can give Rome a chance to talk about that book again.
I think that's what they're pretty much implying, yeah.
Well,
like whoever's in charge of the Administratum basically has the Minotaurs at their beck and call. Considering, they only pretty much stopped their rampage when, what's her name? Who's basically became the new head of the Administratum after, the traitors were killed. Basically, no, go back. And Stereomorph's like, okay. And just fucks off.
Are you on the same, do you agree that they're Iron Warriors gene seed as well? The Minotaurs?
Well, partly because the Imperial Armor books says outright that their gene seed is chimeric. It says it outright. It's chimeric.
I can't find the quote anywhere, but I read that the guy who created them said they were Iron Warrior gene seed. That's what when he made them, in his mind and stuff, he had them down as Iron Warriors, and I can't find it anywhere.
Oh, you mean like the hobbyist who designed the chapter?
Yes, I can't find it anywhere, and it's always stuck with me. So that's why I always I have a hatred for him.
It does say in the Imperial Armor Badab War books in regards to the Minotaurs that outright gene seed is sort of a chimeric source.
Would make sense then.
So it may not be fully Iron Warriors, but it could be partially Iron Warriors.
We do know Iron Warriors were like Olympia. It was very Greek themed, if I'm not mistaken. So it would make sense because since they are kind of a Sparta Greek themed chapter, it could be like a bit of a nod to that as well.
But what's interesting is why does the Imperium keep those supplies around? Because by Imperial law, you're not allowed to use it. Why do they still have it? Why have they not just destroyed it? If it's such corrupted GC that they can never use it.
I don't think it's corrupted, though, because Belisarius makes that point too.
No, but that's the point. That's my point, is that it's not corrupted.
Yeah,
it's in the eyes of
it's
you
tainted.
can't
It's
use
tainted
it.
by the sins of their fathers, essentially.
Yeah, and especially given that Gene Seed goes bad over, well, no, not goes bad over time, but is more prone to flaws the more it sticks around. Why do they even keep it? It's like, it's basically saying to the traitor legions, come get more Gene Seed if you can come and crack Terra.
To be honest, the main reason they probably keep it is due to the fact it's like, well, we can't really just destroy it because, one, it's, it's because the Emperor made it and he's like in the other bloody
kind of
room.
thing. Yeah, it's like his work.
So if we destroy it, the Emperor might get pissed as we're destroying his work.
Yeah.
And yet they had no problems with the Primaris Marines of bastardizing the Emperor's work.
Because bear in mind, a lot of the Gene Seed, the Gene Seed that's in the Vaults of Terra, it would have been from before the Horus Heresy itself. So technically, that stock of Gene Seed would be, considered pure and untainted.
Theoretically.
Because it's come from warriors who died before the heresy even took place, so they didn't even rebel against the Emperor.
And yet I raged the Crusader host who were thrown out and nearly executed for being even wearing the same paint job as someone on the other side of the galaxy who decided the Emperor was being a bit of a dick.
Yeah.
So it's not like even like M31's Imperium was going to be very nice to anyone or anything associated with the traitor legions. Hell, even the Great Crusade Imperium wasn't very nice to them. Monarchia.
It might also be because Gene Seed itself is an incredibly precious resource in general, and it's like, do we really want to squander this? Should we just keep it just in case?
It could be something like what the Minotaurs are, right? We've made you from the Gene Seed of a legion that fell. Show us how loyal you can be towards, kind of thing, to redeem.
And
past
we've
actions.
synthesized, but to just to be safe, we synthesized it with super stable Gene Seed from one of the good guys, air quote. So the risk is lower, and maybe next time we'll take it a bit further. And then Cawl got his hands on it, and the whole system went to hell.
Speaking of chimeric Gene Seed, am I the only one who finds it utterly pointless that the Relictus Gene Seed is a hybridized mix of Ultramarine and Dark Angel? That just seems pointless.
I mean, they're both hyper stable, so by that logic, it's safe, I guess.
I know, but surely you would, if you were to try and blend Gene Seed, you'd take you take something like, I don't know, maybe mix Blood Angel and Ultramarine to try and use the Ultramarine to stabilize the Blood Angel
the
side of
Space
Gene
Wolf,
Seed.
and stuff like that. Yeah.
Or Space Wolf to make so you can actually have Space Wolf successor chapters.
We do now have that, though, don't we? Space Wolf successor chapters.
We do now.
Yeah,
but we didn't
back
before
then,
the Primarchs.
I forgot what it's called now. Is it?
Wolf Brothers.
Wolf Brothers, is that what it's called now?
The Wolf Brothers.
Spear.
Oh yeah, sorry. The Wolf Brothers were the original ones. I kept thinking they
The
recounted
Wolf Spear or the Primaris one.
Yes, Wolf Spear. Sorry,
Wolfsbane, is that the card? Okay.
Wolf Spear.
Wolf
Wolf Spear. Okay, Wolf Spear. Okay.
Yeah, I always get that mixed up because the Wolf Brothers were the attempted successor in M31 that went feral and went wiped out. So I always get the two mixed up. Sorry.
Roger. Cool.
And then you got the Salamanders, who officially have none.
Officially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they were exempt from being split into chapters, because there wasn't enough of them.
And they still only have 7 companies to this day. Like, WTF is even going on with the Salamanders. Like, how do you not have 1,000 out of 10,000 years?
It's been 10,000 years. Come on, get over it now.
To be honest, they technically don't even have a chapter master, because the de facto chapter master is the captain of the first company.
Yeah, because it's a placeholder position for Vulcan.
Yeah. So I'm keeping the seat warm for your daddy. Daddy's never coming home.
Oh. Yeah.
Accurate. Okay, speaking of old things and stuff, in Black Legion, Abaddon says, and I quote the comment, the only reason he was able to kill Sigismund was because Sigismund was an old man by Space Marine standards. So, the question then sort of theory crafts, take M41's demonic, powered up, all that stuff Abaddon, and throw him against Prime Sigismund. Who wins?
Ooh.
I know we've got an Imperial Fist in the corner, so try and rationalise how you beat super demon-powered Abaddon with Sigismund.
I think my fanboyism will come out more here than anything else. It depends. Like
I'd have to go for Abaddon personally.
At the Siege of Terra, Sigismund is like, well, where I've read so far, he hasn't really embraced like he's embraced the faith, but he hasn't like let it into his heart. Let's say that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I know obviously he goes to confess it to Dawn, and Dawn turns him into the Templar, and he goes on a mega rampage.
But yeah, I think it would have to be Abaddon, wouldn't it? Really, because Abaddon's he's got the sword now. He's got Draknir. I think yeah.
Yeah, did he kill Sigismund to get to Draknir, or is Draknir his first? Is Sigismund his first kill with Draknir?
He kills Sigismund first, then goes to get Draknir.
Yeah. Right. Draknir's linked to. Yeah. Well, it's going to be linked to the custodian. I forgot his name. The custodian guy out of
Ryan Dimian.
Yeah, Ryan Dimian.
That's where. But hopefully, well, he has to come back into the story somehow because Abaddon gets the sword.
Well, because in the Black Legion Codex, they did say that when Abaddon went to get Draknir, and there was like a golden figure that was guiding him.
Mm-hmm.
But it didn't say what it was, so could be the ghost of Ryan Dimian.
Yeah, I think that Heresy era Sigismund could beat Heresy era Abaddon. I do believe that.
Yeah, I
I
believe that.
don't think that Sigismund could ever beat post Heresy Super Chaos Abaddon.
Yeah, because wasn't like the only person to ever like even battle Sigismund to a draw, Sevatar, and that's only because he headbutted him in the face.
So technically Sevatar lost.
Because sort of like you go through those names of like the greatest warriors in the legions, and you sort of go Abaddon, Sevatar, Sigismund, and who was the other one?
Eidolon.
There was
Eidolon was one mentioned.
Jubal Khan. He was renowned for the White Scars. Who else?
Was Garrow? No.
Garrow was pretty decent.
Raldaron, Eidolon, Abaddon.
Amit, would you say?
No, he was powerful, but he wasn't Abaddon tier. Khan, obviously, because Khan could like hold Angron.
Was Corswain counted as top tier?
Corswain probably was. We don't know much about Corswain, but he probably was up there.
Well, I can't really say it because the Saturnine book is.
Well, didn't Corswain put Comrade Coase in a coma?
Did it?
Because he ended up like, stabbing him in the back or something.
Oh, is that when he's on top of the lion?
He does stab Conrad Kurz in the spine. Yes, I think.
And that temporarily puts Kurz into a coma.
Yeah, that's it, because when Kurz and Lion meet, Kurz has got Lion's number, sort of. But I think Corswain gets a shot in on Kurz's spine and pretty much paralyzes him for a bit. And that allows Lion to capture him or something. I forget the details.
Cool.
No, I think that leads to a bit of like the Night Lord's retreat. Sevatar basically tells like the apothecaries to fix him, and the apothecaries are basically like operating on Kurz and so like this guy's got organs we don't even know what the fuck they are.
We don't know what we're doing. Yeah, I remember that bit. Yeah, it's like what do we do here? It's like
So what's this thing here? Are those my feet? Sorry, wrong reference.
Dear oh dear. But yeah, I think in answer to the question about Chaos Abaddon versus Sigismund, Abaddon wins, but only because of Chaos.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that's what we'll settle on as an answer.
Well, that's what I say.
Because also, Abaddon also, wrecked the shit out of, a Primarified Marnius Calgar as well.
Yeah. To be fair, Calgar's plot, I mean, Abaddon's got this sort of thing of like, he's so attached to the Vengeful Spirit that he could have killed pretty much half the galaxy by now if he could just leave the Vengeful Spirit for 5 minutes. It seems like. Yeah. He's like, Calgar should be dead, but the Vengeful Spirit got attacked.
Yeah.
And he should have killed Celestine, but the Vengeful Spirit got attacked. It's like, if you just let the Vengeful Spirit die, you have another Gloriana. You have a planet killer. I know you renounced Horus as a failure. Why do you care so much about keeping his ship? It's not even your ship, it's his ship. Your flagship from the Heresy, which is also a Gloriana, is right there.
Okay, I just had a mental idea as to why he's so protective over the Vengeful Spirit. It's to do with the Crystal Sanguineus.
And probably Lupercal's cult that he sits in a pocket dimension. That's also probably why.
Because I'm thinking, considering that the Crystal Sanguineus is basically the soul of Sanguinius, because then the crystal statues on the Vengeful Spirit were the souls of those who died on the Vengeful Spirit. If the Vengeful Spirit gets blown up, that means the soul of Sanguinius is free. And that means something could potentially happen. I don't know.
Yeah, either a god gets it, which is really going to tip the balance of power.
The soul of Sanguinius channels itself into Dante, and he becomes Sanguinius Reborn. There you go.
So, okay, fair enough. Yeah, it's odd because Abaddon has a Gloriana-class battleship in the Heresy. It's his personal ship in the Heresy, and it's right there. The Black Legion still has it, but he doesn't use it because he's got the Spirit.
Yeah.
Oh, unless it's just, basically to say, like, hey, this is the ship that the Arch Traitor used, and now the current War Master Chaos is using it. Fear this fucking ship.
Yeah, okay, there is that. There is that.
Because let's be honest, if you're like, some person on Terra who just heard stories like, hey, this person who was the War Master, he rebelled against the Emperor with a ship called the Vengeful Spirit. Oh shit, the Vengeful Spirit just turned up. Fuck. I just pissed myself.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I can see that. I can definitely see that. That's the ship on which the Emperor died.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah,
it has a symbolic importance.
Yeah, it's
good point.
It's his ship. It's his baby. Let's see.
Indeed.
I suppose technically it's more Iskandar Kaon's baby now, considering his sister is the Machine Spirit.
True.
Also, I was doing some reading about the Black Legion, and I learned about the Lupercal's Court, which is a pocket dimension made of Horus's former war room that Abaddon gave to the Ezekarian for their personal use. You're just like, okay, what?
As you do.
As you do. Like, Lupercal's Court went from a war room to a debased temple to a pocket dimension where Abaddon's, inner circle lives. It's just like, okay, sure, why not? Strange indeed. I think we've probably hit time.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah, so... apologies to everyone in the comments who we didn't get around to looking at their questions. Hopefully we'll be able to get around to it next time. But thank you very much for joining us this episode of Adeptus Podcastus, and thank you very much to Chapter Master Valrak for joining us this episode.
No problem. Thank you for having me once more. Enjoyed it.
Good to hear. So, until next time, everyone, thank you very much for watching. This has been Remleiz from 40k Theories.
This has been Tactica Imperialis.
And I'm Valrak. Hello. Well, bye-bye, should I say. See ya.
And we'll see you all again next time. Bye-bye.